Part by Cox Gigablast. How will you live the gig life? By Lone Butte Casino. You're in for more winning moments at Lone Butte Casino. And by Jack in the Box. For a limited time, try the new Portobello Mushroom Buttery Jack with melted garlic herb butter.
Well, the pregame ceremony is complete here at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. We're getting set for the third game of this series, third of four. The Diamondbacks, as you know, have taken games 1 and 2. I'm Todd Walsh, and welcome back to our exclusive coverage of Major League Baseball here at Fox Sports Arizona. The Diamondbacks offense has come to life in those first couple of games, led by none other than center fielder A.J. Pollock. Back-to-back 4-hit games, and if you're wondering where the inspiration may have come from, well, folks, it might just have been that pregame ritual that you may have seen behind me the last couple of nights, and now we know it has a name.
It's called a potato punch.
Okay.
It's just something AJ kind of started this year, and it's just kind of taken off the whole season.
So who did it work better for, you or him?
I think probably him.
Okay.
8 hits in 2 days isn't too bad.
It originated at Notre Dame, and I think Eddie Mendiola was the name who invented it. I just kind of looking for a teammate that I thought was up to standards to kind of release it. And CO's he's got a lot of intensity, and I think it's been working.
It looked violent.
And we've been doing it all year.
Okay.
So we'll have to check and see if there's the concussions at the end of the year. But yeah.
Okay. Whatever it takes. By the way, Pollock and Chris Owings combined 13 for 18 in this series with 2 home runs, and they have knocked in 6 combined. Diamondbacks looking to win in Game 3. When we come back, Steve and Bob have the call. We'll keep a close eye on A.J. Pollock. What a month for him of late. As Steve and Bob mentioned last night, this isn't a streaky player anymore. This is a steady, consistent all-star A.J. Pollock of the Diamondbacks.
Clinch a series win here in Cincinnati and get back to 500 on the year. The D-backs 4-1 against the Reds this season after taking 2 of 3 earlier this month at Chase Field, and wins in the series' first 2 games here Thursday and Friday. Your Arizona Ford starting pitcher for the Reds, Anthony DeSclafani, the 25-year-old right-hander. This is a pretty good young pitcher out there, a guy who figures to be part of the future in Cincinnati. Here's D-back skipper Chip Hale.
I think they've started 20-some straight games with rookies, so it's not been easy for them. But this is the one guy that we know we watched him with our fall league team last year with the Marlins. He was in a trade for them, so he's got good stuff, good fastball, a typical righty breaking ball changeup. We're just going to have to get him up in the zone and get him.
Acquired from the Marlins last December in a trade that sent Matt Latos to Miami. The numbers on Anthony DeSclafani, same number of hits allowed as innings pitched, and for the most part, Bob, he's looked pretty good this year.
Yeah, you heard Chip Hale's description of Anthony DeSclafani, and he's not really the guy they saw in the fall league last year. He used to be a 4-pitch guy, a 4-seam fastball, a 2-seamer, had a curve, a slider, a changeup, but if you look at the numbers more recently, he's relying heavily on a sinker-slider combination, just trying to keep the ball down and have opposing hitters put it on the ground.
And this will be the lineup that Chip Hale will send out there against this Reds right-hander.
Enter Inciarte out in left field once again, leading off A.J. Pollock in center field. Paul Goldschmidt at first base. David Peralta out in right field tonight with Aaron Hill at second base. Jake Lamb at third. Jared Saltalamacchia over his last 15 games hitting nearly .350. He'll be doing the catching. Chris Owings moves over to short tonight. And Randall Delgado with a spot start will bat ninth.
Diamondbacks 60 and 61. A chance to get back to 500 on the year and clinch a series win here, as Ender Inciarte leads it off. Mike McClinsky is our plate umpire on another beautiful Saturday evening in Cincinnati, Ohio. Ender gives this a ride. First pitch of the ball game. There it goes. Goodbye. 1 pitch, 1 run. Ender's fourth. Bang. It's 1-0 D-backs.
That didn't take long.
Ambush at the OK Corral.
How about that?
And the last 15 games when the Diamondbacks have hit a home run, they are 14-1. A good start. No doubter off the bat of Ender Inciarte.
It's a center cut fastball ready to hit the first thing he saw in the strike zone, and he did not miss it. I think back to some of the great leadoff hitters in the game back when I played. Brett Butler jumps to mind immediately. Lenny Dykstra with the Phillies, and little guys that bunted, they slapped the ball around, but every now and then they would go up there and try to ambush that opposing pitcher, and that's exactly what Ender Inciarte did tonight.
And now here's the red-hot A.J. Pollock, fourth in the National League in hitting. And now with 13 homers after he homered in his first at-bat last night. Todd Frazier in the hole, drops the ball. Tricky play for Frazier going toward the second base bag.
Could possibly be called an infield hit. Frazier had to range far to his left just to get to that ball. About 4 or 5 steps, but just doesn't make the exchange cleanly into the bare hand. And with A.J. speed, he's going to be safe at first base. Any mishandling of that ball.
They put a base hit up on the scoreboard for A.J. Pollock, so he's four hits in each of his last 2 games, and he's at it again. Here's Goldie. There's a strike 0-1. Paul Goldschmidt.
A.J. sneaking up on D. Gordon.
That's in the seats. Goldie down 0-2. 326 and 22 home runs. And he is 0 for 9 in the series with 4 strikeouts. He punched out 3 times last night. Tucker Barnhart behind the plate tonight for the Reds. A nice stop there. And it's 1-2 on Goldie. 21 home runs during the first half of the year. He has hit 1 since the All-Star break. It's this in the air, deep to right field. Bruce at the track, at the wall, and Goldie takes it out of here. There's number 23, and it's 3-0 Diamondbacks. 22 games without a home run. That's his first homer since July 27th at Seattle. How about that for a start?
Not bad. I mean, the Diamondbacks offensively have a game plan every night against the opposing pitcher, but I don't even know in Turner Ward's wildest dreams that it could have come like this. Leadoff homer on the first pitch, an infield single for A.J. Pollock, and then an opposite field homer for Goldie.
And here's the scorching hot David Peralta. That is Goldie's 7th first-inning home run this year. Just 2 homers in his previous 49 games. And he's back on track with his 23rd of the year. 0-1 to Peralta. David took an 0 for 6 Tuesday night in that 15th-inning game in Pittsburgh, and he's gone hitless in just 2 pinch hit appearances since, so it's been a quiet week. .299 and 12 home runs.
This Reds rotation is DeSclafani's about the closest thing they have to a veteran presence in the rotation, but you can see he's been much better on the road this year than here at Great American Ballpark. I think a lot of pitchers that make this their home ballpark have better road numbers.
Opponent sitting just .225 against DeSclafani when he pitches on the road. That average here at Great American Ballpark jumps up to .313. Two balls, 2 strikes on Peralta. And DeSclafani records his first out of the ball game. 1 down.
Big first inning here for the Diamondbacks, so we've got to get this in early tonight. Anytime the D-backs score 5 runs or more, Taco Bell is giving away 3 free tacos with the purchase of a large drink between 4 and 6 the following day at participating locations.
Aaron Hill, the starter at second base here tonight. Chris Owings is at short. Nick Ahmed has the night off. .233 and 5 home runs for Aaron, who has at least 1 base hit in 7 of his last 8 starts. This is chopped to first. Votto has it. DeSclafani scampers over there. 2 down. Here's Jake Lamb.
I was really hoping to see Aaron Hill reach base right there. He spent a long time this afternoon with Dave McKay looking at video of DeSclafani, and both guys had a stopwatch in their hand. They were timing his delivery to home plate. They were timing Barnhart's throws to second base. I think Aaron Hill wants to get in on this stolen base thing.
They have been very aggressive on the bases all year long, that's for sure. Aaron had a stolen base last night, his 7th of the year. Jake Lamb back in there, 4 for 25 on the road trip, and including his home run at Pittsburgh. And the Reds have the shift on. They overload the right-hand side. There's strike 1. Jake in a quick 0-2 hole. DeSclafani was hit pretty hard by the Diamondbacks at Chase Field a couple of starts ago. That was August 9th. 3 runs on 10 hits in 6 innings. And he's off to a rocky start tonight.
Took a no decision in that game. Ultimately, the Diamondbacks won it in the 10th, 4-3.
He strikes out Lamb. Ender Inciarte gets us started. The first pitch of the ball game, gone for his 4th, and finally Goldie back in the home run column. His 23rd, a 2-run shot. It's 3-0 D-backs. Starter for the Diamondbacks, his first start since last September. A spot start out of the bullpen with Jeremy Hellickson on the DL. The question with Randall tonight is, what about the pitch count? Here's his pitching coach, Mike Harkey.
I'm probably going up 475 max, whatever he can give us. Then we'll probably follow it up with Godley. So and then we'll see where we're at after that, or where we are before that. It just all depends on obviously how well and how deep Randall can go.
Randall, 43 appearances, all in relief. A big part of the bullpen this year, a 2.70 ERA. A former starter both here and in Atlanta, but converted into a reliever with the Diamondbacks, and he's made just 4 starts in 2 years.
Really been pitching well out of the bullpen recently. In his last 14 games, his ERA is just a skosh over half a run, 0.59.
And he's come along with that slider nicely. He's added that third pitch.
Yeah, it's really helped him out a lot. Basically, he's a 4-seamer, 2-seamer changeup guy, but the slider has been a work in progress and starting to see some signs of progress.
Well, the Reds tonight have Brandon Phillips back in the lineup. He missed the last couple of games with that biceps inflammation. 286 and 9 home runs. Grounded out as a pinch hitter last night. Laces that into left field. Brandon Phillips is headed for second. Nope, going to change his mind and put the brakes on halfway there. Leadoff single. A lineup for Brian Price's Cincinnati Reds.
Seen Brandon Phillips at the top. He'll be at second base. Eugenio Suarez at shortstop. Joey Votto at first base. Todd Frazier down at third. Jay Bruce once again in right field with Brennan Bosch in left. Tucker Barnhart doing the catching tonight. Ryan Lamar in center field, and Anthony DeSclafani on the mound.
Ryan Lamar making his major league debut. They're still without Billy Hamilton. They just got Phillips back tonight. And, of course, they're without their shortstop, Zach Cozart. So here's Eugenio Suarez. Suarez, 308 home runs. 0 for 4 last night with 3 strikeouts. Brandon Phillips, a much bigger stolen base threat this year than he has been in recent seasons. He's swiped 17. Only been caught twice.
A lot of those 17 stolen bases for Brandon Phillips are very similar to the ones we've seen from Goldie at times and AJ at times, where he just guesses right and takes off for second base while the pitcher's still standing on the mound.
Randall handed that 3-0 lead. You like to have a clean inning here. But a base hit by Phillips to lead it off, and he's behind on Suarez, 2-1. This is blasted to left. Inciarte plays it off the wall. Phillips had to hold up. He'll head for third and going to stop at second. I think Ender might have deked him just a bit there and kept Brandon Phillips at second base.
I think you're absolutely right. That's a heads-up play by Ender Inciarte out there in left field. That ball hit like a bullet to straightaway left. Ender backed up and faced home plate the entire time like he was going to catch the ball. Plays the carom perfectly, hustles it back in, holding Brandon Phillips at second base.
Yeah, Phillips was set to take a big turn and head for third and had to stop and think about it for a moment, and it was too late. So 2 on, nobody out for the dangerous Joey Votto. Randall Delgado in immediate trouble. And there's the little back and forth. You got me.
That's a play you're more likely to see at Fenway Park with the green monster in left field.
Well, that thing would have banged halfway off the big wall out there. Votto carves that one foul. Joey Votto, 309 and 23 home runs. He homered last night against the lefty Keith Hessler, his 4th homer in his last 9 games. Phillips making a lot of noise back there at second. And Delgado steps off.
I don't think Brandon Phillips jumping around out there at second base excites Joey Votto a little bit.
I wouldn't imagine.
Just
so.
stand still. Let me focus on the pitcher here.
He's really moving around a lot back there. That's in there for a strike. Randall ahead 0-2, and Joey Votto not happy with Mike Klinsky back there. Well, when Joey doesn't like something, he'll let you know. He's got a program, and you better be on it. I mean, he is really barking.
Center cut. He must be upset at himself. He cannot be upset at that call.
He's still going with McClinsky.
That ball caught plenty of plate.
I mean, where do you want it, Joey? 0-2. Missed away, a ball and 2 strikes. Votto 3 hits in the series, 2 doubles and the home run. Hitting .396 since the All-Star break. Salty keeps it close enough to keep Phillips at second.
Nice block. That ball gets slightly away from Saltalamacchia, and you see Phillips. He's had an adventurous inning on the bases already, and still only at second base. Took the big turn at first after the single. Got deked by Ender Inciarte on the Suarez single into left field, and jumping around out there at second base during the Votto at bat.
He's a high energy guy all the time.
Joey Votto, a lot like Paul Goldschmidt, really chokes up on that bat in a 2-strike count.
And he got him, a big strikeout for Delgado. He retires Votto 1 away.
Some strikeouts are better than others.
That's on the top of the list.
Yeah, when you can strike out a guy like Joey Votto and make him look bad doing it, that's a big strikeout.
And changeup gets the first out, but still trouble here. 2 on, 1 away for Todd Frazier, the home run derby champ. Frazier 3 hits in the series, including a double last night. He leads the National League in doubles. 34. However, he is in a deep slump. 259 and 29 homers. The double in last night's ball game, just Frazier's 6th extra base hit all month long. He's under 190 in August. Does being a reliever help Randall at all in this situation, in immediate trouble? Because this is a spot he might find himself in the 7th, 8th inning of a ball game.
Yeah, he's come into a lot of ball games in this situation. So, yeah, I think it certainly will help him get through this early jam, hopefully.
Well, trying to negotiate his way out of trouble. He's ahead of Frazier, a ball and 2 strikes.
Good changeup in the early going, yeah.
That has always been his bread and butter pitch, his swing and miss pitch. That changeup, even back to his Braves days. A very good one. Fastball missed away. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Base hit to center. Phillips will come in and score. The Reds are on the board. It's 3-1. RBI single for Todd Frazier, their 3rd hit in this inning.
Sounded like Frazier cracked his bat on that base hit into center field. And obviously a big, strong guy, even when he hits him out near the end of the bat. Muscles it out into center field. A.J. Pollock playing deep, respecting Frazier's power, and Brandon Phillips finally gets to run. Rounds third and scores the first run of the game for the Reds.
So it's a 3-1 ball game. Jay Bruce. Bruce 0 for 7 in the series. Does have a pair of RBIs. One on a sacrifice fly, the other on a ground ball out. 236 and 18 homers. Missed inside, 1-1.
Let's take a look at our Valley Honda keys to the ball game. We heard the limitations on Randall Delgado tonight, 75 pitches, so make them count and run the Reds down. Run them down. Catching up with them in stolen bases in the National League. Billy Hamilton on the disabled list. Now's the time you can sneak up and pass the Reds in stolen bases.
Randall up over 20 pitches now in the first inning. He's ahead of Bruce 1-2. Singles by Phillips, Suarez, and Frazier. D-backs took a quick 3-0 lead. Homers by Inciarte and Goldschmidt. And now the Reds answering back in the home half. Two and two. Bruce right now stuck in a 6 for 62. That's a deep, dark pit of despair.
Mired in a slump. Eek.
It's a full count. Brennan Bosch is on deck. Suarez is the runner at second, Frazier at first. Mike Harkey said 75 pitches or 4 innings, whichever comes first, and this is not the pitch count you were hoping for. Popped him up. Foul ground, third base side. Jake Lamb. 2 down. So here's Brennan Bosch. Bosch in left field again tonight. Just 8 base hits all year. He's at 127 for the season. Headed toward the seats. Jake is over there to give it a look, but it's out of play. Brennan Bosch 0 for 5 in the series, called up from AAA Louisville this week when they lost Billy Hamilton to the DL with a shoulder sprain, and they traded Marlon Burr to the Giants. So they're a little thin out there in the Reds outfield. They've got Bosch in left and Ryan Lamar in center. Lamar making his major league debut. Yanks it by Billy Hatcher, foul at first.
That's something to put on the scouting report for future games. Bosch has not done much in this series, has not done much all year, but lightning quick on a fastball down and in.
Played about 50 games at Louisville in AAA and hit about .330. But has not done much at the big league level this year. Had a couple of really good seasons with the Tigers to start his career and then just kind of faded away. Delgado ahead 0-2. Bosch has spent 2 years in the Yankees and the Angels systems. He's kind of floated around for a few years here. Signed with the Reds in November. Got him. A big strikeout for Randall Delgado. He strands 2, but the Reds get 1. We are through 1 in Cincinnati. It's 3-1 Diamondbacks.
It never ends. The teaching never ends. You can always pick a pitch or two out of an inning and ask why and hopefully learn from the experience. Randall Delgado locked in on his pitching coach, Mike Harkey.
I mean, I know he's had all night to think about it, but you come out to the mound, you take some warm-up pitches, and you pitch.
Yeah.
Is it that much different? I don't know.
Well, once again, maybe there was a pitch or two that Mike Harkey wanted to know, why did you throw that pitch in that situation? And he just wanted guys to be thinking out there, not necessarily thinking on the mound, but thinking in preparation for a start.
Well, it's 3-1 D-backs as Jared Saltalamacchia leads off the second against Anthony DiSclafani. And the Reds have the shift on for Salty. They overload the right-hand side. 2-0-2 and 4 home runs. We'll see how DiSclafani responds now after his rocky first inning. 2 homers, an Inciarte homer on the first pitch of the ball game, and Goldie a 2-run shot after Pollock had singled. He strikes out Salty. Third strikeout for DiSclafani. 1 away.
Hey fans, when the D-backs win, you win at Papa John's. The day after every Diamondbacks win, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at Papa John's. Enter promo code D-backs50 at papajohns.com.
Chris Owings. This is a hitter's ballpark, and CO has been a hitter. 5 for 8 in the series, including a double and a home run. And he's got another base hit. Chris Owings bangs it into center, a 1-out single. 4th hit for the Diamondbacks. Well, he has looked like a different guy lately.
I think the change has to be underneath the helmet, because physically I don't see any changes to his swing. Nothing really looks radically different, but his mindset has been really good lately. Obviously getting good pitches, and when he does, he hits them hard.
So here's Randall Delgado. Frazier comes in from third. Delgado squares and fouls it off.
Right, once again, Todd Frazier right in the face of Randall Delgado as that ball was bunted foul. With Chris Owings' speed at first base, if Randall should happen to get that bunt down, and CO is an alert base runner, he might be able to turn the corner at second base and advance all the way to third if the Reds don't get a defender back there to cover the bag.
That's a fair ball. It's going to stay fair. Barnhart has to pick it up, and it works out. Just hugging that line, and Owings is in at second, 2 down. Barnhart finally gave up any hope it was going to roll foul.
Yeah, I think that's local knowledge. You have to know your own ballpark. You should know every ballpark, but you know when a ball's going to stay fair, when it's going to roll into foul territory, and Barnhart decided not to mess around, just pick it up and get the out at first base.
So Owings is in scoring position, 2 outs for Ender Inciarte, who hit his first ever leadoff homer on the first pitch of the ball game. His 4th home run this year. Ender 3 for 9 in the series. A double, a homer, 2 RBIs.
Well, it's been a couple of years since the Diamondbacks hitter homered on the very first pitch of the game. Gerardo Parra, May 18th against the Marlins.
If I'm not mistaken, Brandon McCarthy started that game, won it 1-0, and that was the only run of the game.
Wow, good memory.
That was at Marlins Park. Got our somewhat reliable staff to double check that. Two and one. And a visit from Eduardo Perez here in the booth.
It was good to see him.
Tony Perez's son, former major leaguer, here with his wife Mirba, his little girl, celebrating the Perez family weekend. They did a wonderful job, the Reds, in honoring Tony Perez here, the Hall of Famer. Big 24 out there behind second base. Brand new statue unveiled before the ball game today outside the ballpark.
A lot of members of those Big Red Machine teams in attendance tonight.
When they want to call in some VIPs, they can call them in. It's an impressive group. Davey Concepcion and Johnny Bench and Ken Griffey Sr. and George Foster and Pete Rose and Joe Morgan. I mean, it's unbelievable. All here to honor their former teammate from the Big Red Machine. And Eddie, of course, has launched into a very successful TV career as a broadcaster. Two and two on Ender. Just does get a piece of it. Boy, DeSclafani's been around the strike zone the whole ball game. 33 pitches, 25 strikes. This was Ender Inciarte on the first pitch of the game. First career home run ever given up to a leadoff hitter by Anthony DeSclafani. He's now given up 15 homers on the year in 139 innings.
I'll tell you one thing, partner. We hit the weather Powerball lottery here on this road trip.
I was just thinking.
Oh, man.
It is. You couldn't have asked for a more gorgeous night than we have here tonight. Just nice and cool and comfortable and calm. Just beautiful. 76 degrees right now. Not a cloud in the sky. A couple of wisps here and there. That's about it.
Yeah, this trip through these three cities, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati in the middle of August can be one of the most miserable playing conditions you can possibly imagine to try to play baseball, but couldn't have been nicer.
Another 2-2 pitch. It's full. Supposed to get a little steamy tomorrow afternoon. And a chance of thunder showers. A kind of hit and miss tomorrow. Got a 9:30 in the morning. Diamondback Live pregame show. First pitch 10:10. Breakfast with the D-backs tomorrow.
Baseball and bagels. Doubles and donuts.
3-2. a very determined at bat for Ender Inciarte. Chase Anderson goes for the Diamondbacks tomorrow. Raisel Iglesias for the Reds. This is turning into a pretty impressive at bat.
Yes, it is. I mean, Sclafani early in the at bat was trying to pound Ender inside on his hands, and he just kept fouling him off. So he tries to scoot it out on the outside part of the plate. He gets a piece of that one.
Here we go again. So Mike McClinsky signaling to the clubby, I'm going to need more baseballs out here. I'm running low. Another 3-2 pitch. Chris Owings at second, 2 outs. Fly ball to left, Brennan Bosch. And they strand Owings at second. Tony Perez, the Hall of Famer, his statue outside the ballpark, unveiled this afternoon in Cincinnati, where the Diamondbacks lead the Reds 3-1. Diamondbacks with 3 in the first. Home runs by Inciarte and Goldschmidt. Lead at 3-1 as Randall Delgado, who gave up 3 singles in his first inning, faces Tucker Barnhart to open up the Cincinnati second. Barnhart, Lamar, DeSclafani, 7, 8, 9 for the Reds. Tucker Barnhart, the catcher, 256 and 3 home runs. He's hit safely in his last 5 starts. Saw Brian Pena back there last night. Both Reds catchers are switch hitters.
And both better from the left side of the plate. We saw Pena last night with 3 base hits in the ball game from the left side of the plate.
And Barnhart just under 280 as a lefty this year, including all 3 of his homers. Randall falls behind, 2 balls and a strike. Out in front, pulls it foul, 2-2. Barnhart started to get more playing time when they lost Devin Mesoraco, their all-star catcher. And at first he hit a little more than they thought he would, so he started playing more. He's always been a very good defensive catcher, but the bat has been a little quieter over the course of the summer. But he's here in a full count, 3-2. And he walks the leadoff man in the second. Well, it brings up Ryan Lamar, who is making his major league debut. Here's his first at bat in the big leagues. Reds called him up from AAA Louisville Thursday after they traded Marlon Byrd to the Giants. He's a former second-round pick out of Michigan 5 years ago, the 8th different Reds player to make his major league debut this year. And he's up there hacking. Lamar was hitting .257, 8 home runs in just about 90 games at AAA. A career .261 hitter in the minor leagues. Good defender, runs okay, got a ton of power. And the Reds checked, they said, with their manager at Louisville, Delino DeShields, the former Expo, and his coaches. They were told that Lamar was the most prepared and the most ready to come in and help the big league club, so here he is.
Had a 55 stolen base season in the minor leagues back in 2011, split between Bakersfield in A-ball and Carolina in Double-A. So yeah, you're right, he's got some speed.
He went through a horrific set of injuries last year. He played in only 17 minor league games all season. Had a stress fracture in his left leg, had a groin injury, and then needed sports hernia surgeries on both sides of his body last June. And his parents, Kevin and Marianne, are here in the ballpark, and they've been waiting for this a long time. Rolls it to second, Aaron Hill. They get Barnhart for one, and that's it. Lamar's aboard. Hit too slowly to turn two there. Let's watch Mom. That's great. Oh, you're all right. You're safe. Dad, a little more stoic. Quite a moment.
Yeah, it's a great moment.
5 years in the making. The pitcher, Anthony DeSclafani. Jake Lamb coming way in at third. He fouls that one off. Well, the Reds need something. They come into tonight stuck in a 7-game losing streak. They are 18 under 500. And nothing has gone their way as of late. Delgado ahead 0-2. By the way, did Craig Counsell call and thank you?
No.
What's up with that?
I don't know. I have to text him, give him a hard time.
Reds lost and the Brewers win last night to move Milwaukee out of the cellar.
And that was one of our keys to the ball game last night. Help Counsell get out of the cellar.
We called it. Bunts on 2 strikes. Goldie going to get the lead man Lamar, and they can't turn two.
Take that trade every time. Get a speedy runner off the bases and let the pitcher run the bases with 2 outs in the inning. Nice aggressive defensive play by Goldie to get the lead man.
So DeSclafani, the pitcher, at first. 2 outs for Brandon Phillips, who singled and scored his first time up. Playing with that right biceps tendonitis that forced him out of the game here Wednesday against Kansas City. Randall not nearly as efficient as you would like to see him here. .43 pitches, 25 strikes. 3 singles in the first. And a walk here to lead off the second, and Phillips laces that one foul. 2-1.
A little gamesmanship earlier in the ball game. Brandon Phillips, the runner at first base, on a line drive into left field. Phillips thought, yeah, I can make it to third. No, I can't. Yes, I can. No, I can't.
Deked right out of his shoes by Ender.
Ender Inciarte facing home plate the entire time as that ball sailed over his head off the left field wall, retrieved it quickly, and helped Phillips at second base.
It's a lazy fly ball to David Peralta in right field. And Randall Delgado strands the base runner through 2. He leads at 3-1.
So many things to help us win games on defense, his base running. Tonight he had a couple opportunities with Pollock stealing. He took good pitches to hit to get him in scoring position. And obviously didn't work out for him to get a hit, but most guys don't do that, especially guys who are in a little bit of a mini slump.
Todd Welch back here at Great American Ballpark. Guys, I just wanted to flash back to last night, Diamondbacks Live, the post-game show. I thought you had an interesting point. We saw it. The Diamondbacks had a runner in scoring position. Steve with first base open, and Brian Price decided to pitch to Paul Goldschmidt, which speaks to the troubles that he has had of late. But I like the nuances that Chip Hale pointed up that maybe we don't necessarily always see and recognize when Paul Goldschmidt is at the plate.
Well, he's hitting under 210 in August. The home run in the first was his first home run this month, so he's not been quite the same guy that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, not only unselfish in that he took a hittable pitch to allow A.J. Pollock to steal, but very smart. You know, you want those guys in scoring position. It didn't work out for Goldie last night, but I think most middle of the lineup hitters would be willing to sacrifice a strike in order to put a runner in scoring position.
Well, A.J. Pollock singled and scored, came in on the Goldie homer in the first. And hard to imagine a better start to a series than the one A.J. has had here in Cincinnati. Second player in Diamondback history with consecutive 4-hit games after Steve Finley did it twice. And sure enough, he started this game off with a single. And in this series, his 9 for 11 with 4 runs scored, 2 doubles, a homer, 4 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases.
Other than that, he hasn't done much. Wow.
Get through.
Yeah, well.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. 2 for 2. What else is new?
Not really a full-blown shift by the Reds, but Brandon Phillips shading up the middle of the field for A.J. Pollock, and he just bounced it through the right side.
He's a Reds killer. 10 for 12 in this series, A.J. Pollock. Here's Goldie. A 2-run homer in the first, his 23rd of the year, and his first homer since July 27th. There goes A.J., and he is in there. The foot stays on the gas pedal, his 33rd stolen base. And he's also become in this series the first player in the majors this year with 30 doubles and 30 steals.
And Tucker Barnhart behind the plate has a strong, accurate throwing arm. He got rid of it quickly, but I think this is one of those instances where the Diamondbacks feel they can run on the pitcher. Got a great jump over there at first.
Goldie down 0-2. This was the home run. He takes it out the other way in the first. There's that Goldie sound.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we haven't heard that sound for a while. He's had his hits, he's driven in some runs, but we haven't heard that crisp sound of baseball on bat contact.
It had been 22 games without a home run. And a welcome sight, certainly.
Todd was just in here talking about Goldie taking those pitches to allow A.J. Pollock to steal a base last night. Does it again here tonight. Takes a strike one fastball right down the middle of the plate to allow Pollock to move into scoring position quickly.
Drops this one in front of Jay Bruce and right. A.J. had the hold up halfway to third just to make certain. So a pair of singles lead off the Diamondback third. Goldie 2 for 2. Not exactly a pick not to click tonight.
Picked on a middle of the plate slider that time, lined it into right field just far enough that A.J. couldn't go ahead and advance onto third base. Had to make sure it got down in front of Jay Bruce before he moves up 90 feet.
The reports of his demise may have been greatly exaggerated. They're on the corners, nobody out for Peralta. David struck out his first time. Diamondbacks with a 3-run first against DeSclafani and threatening more here in the third. And David, since the All-Star break, hitting almost 380. 25 RBIs in 31 games.
Boy, and he was putting on some kind of a show in batting practice today. I always say that it doesn't necessarily translate into success during the game, but he was hitting balls in the back of the bleachers out there in right field. One of them short hopped that All-Star game sign just to the right of the big board.
And there's a guy, a vendor in fact, standing in the aisle right under that All-Star game sign. He hit it right. See that guy in the neon green shirt? The ball landed right there. Whew. And hit the wall on the hop, as Bob said, right off the stairs. Doesn't look like he's picking the ball up too well against DeSclafani. Down 1-2.
Same pitch David struck out on back in the first inning. A straight changeup from DeSclafani. The Reds are well aware of the Diamondbacks' willingness and ability to steal bases. They pitched out in the ball game last night in what Brian Price figured to be an obvious run situation. And they know Goldie will steal a base too.
Goldie's one stolen base away from a 2020 season. Peralta looks at ball two. David, a lot of the data has shown he's grown much more patient at the plate this year in his sophomore season. In fact, he has doubled his walk rate from last year. and has really increased the numbers of pitches he has seen per plate appearances, and that's allowed him to stay aggressive up there, but to stay more selective at the same time.
I think it's a combination of factors. You know, he's a little more experienced now. He's seen some of these pitchers before, and he's playing with a lot more confidence right now. Not afraid to hit with 2 strikes in the count.
Goes the other way, headed toward the left field corner, and that ball is foul. It's a good example of what he's been doing a lot lately. Just take those pitches that are strikes on the outer half and go the other way. He's not trying to pull everything all the time. And it all ties into that more patient approach up there.
The best example of that was the grand slam he hit back at Chase Field to the opposite field. A drive to left.
Chip Hale was saying the other day that Peralta, he's got light tower power when you talk about batting practice, and we were just talking about that a moment ago. We saw it today. But now he says David is starting to figure out when to shorten up his swing and use the other side of the field. And a lot of that has come from his work with Turner Ward and Mark Grace. More selective about which pitch he will attack that's on the outside part of the plate, and laying off those that are too far away. Coming in this time on 2-2. Just does get a piece. And David has 15 opposite field hits this year. So the whole field approach has definitely made him a much better hitter. 8th pitch of the at-bat coming up. Great example right there. It was on the outer half. Last year he might take a big cut at that. This time he lays off and he's got the count full, 3-2. Making DeSclafani work.
Throwing a lot of strikes, perhaps too many strikes. You're around the plate a lot like DeSclafani has been tonight. Hitters tend to get even more aggressive up there at the plate.
A.J. Pollock is at third, Goldie at first. 3-2 to David Peralta. Bounce to second. It backs up Phillips. Suarez. They turn the double play. Pollock scores, and it's 4-1. Well, a good at bat by David there, certainly. Didn't want the double play, but they do get the run home from third. Two down, nobody on for Aaron Hill. Aaron grounded out his first time up. Two and 0. It's headed toward the seats. Anthony DeSclafani, they call him Disco. He's become the leader of this all-rookie Reds rotation, the veteran rookie, as Brian Price calls him. Not really a veteran, he says, but he handles himself like one out there. 2-2. And Price says this guy, he's not as vulnerable as other guys in terms of getting emotional in the middle innings. He always feels comfortable, he says, with DeSclafani out there because it never feels like he's in the middle of a crisis. And I guess that a lot of managers feel that way about rookie pitchers sometimes. He rings up Aaron Hill, his 4th strikeout. But the Diamondbacks tack on a run. They lead at 4-1. have teamed up for the broadcast fundraiser to raise over $1.5 million for local charities. And this year, we have something very special planned with Randy Johnson. So tune into our broadcast fans Thursday, August 27th, and find out how you can purchase this amazing piece of memorabilia and help local charities. That's coming up August 27th, a big show on Fox Sports Arizona. Bottom third in Cincinnati, Randall Delgado with a 4-1 lead. He'll work to Eugenio Suarez, Joey Votto, and Todd Frazier, 2, 3, and 4. Suarez is single his first time up. It's 0-1. It's easy to forget that Randall Delgado is only 25 years old. He's been pitching in the big leagues for 5 seasons now. So in a sense, he's still a kid out there. This is lifted in the air to left center. A.J. Pollock ranging over there. Runs it down for the first out. So when you look at his career numbers as a starting pitcher, Randall Delgado, you go, okay. 11-19, 4.23 ERA, 47 starts. But you forget that many of those starts, he was really still a baby, learning to pitch at the big league level. And he says he's learned a lot from his 2 years in the bullpen. Feels different, has more experience. And he's got more stuff with that slider, too, that he throws about 25% of the time this year. So the whole package, in terms of the development, is a lot further along than it was a couple of years ago.
You'd like to think that these kids come up from the minor leagues and, are a finished product. This is what you're going to get every year, but that's not the case. Guys develop, they incorporate new pitches, they scrap old pitches, they figure out what works best for them against certain styles of hitters. And ideally, it's an arc that, maybe has some bumps at the beginning of the career, but then as you learn and get more experience, get more confidence, get more playing time, more innings pitched, that arc gets way up there where you'd like it to be.
This is his first start since September 11th of last year. And right at 50 pitches, 31 strikes. Behind on Joey Votto, 2-1. That one just missed.
I mean, one of the greatest examples of that would be Randy Johnson. He started his career. You want to talk about a raw talent. Had to learn a lot about his body, his delivery.
Yeah, he didn't really figure it out until he was 29 years old in Seattle. And Randall, 2 seasons ago, did have a very nice run through the Diamondbacks rotation. A little bumpy to start that year. But did settle down nicely from mid-July or so through the beginning of September. He had a stretch of 10 starts, during which the Diamondbacks won 8 times. And his ERA was right about 3.5. So he did show that he can sustain some success as a starting pitcher over an extended period. Does not get the inside call there. And it's a full count, 3-2. Joey Votto is really battling up there. A lot more demonstrative than we're used to seeing him in this entire series, but especially tonight. Diamondbacks have the shift on. There's that choking up with 2 strikes. Looks like Felix Millan used to hold the bat about halfway up for the Mets.
Good lesson, not only for young players out there, but for a lot of other guys in the big leagues. Choking up with 2 strikes, put the ball in play, take your chances. I know there's a segment of sabermetricians who feel that, an out is an out. Doesn't matter if it's a strikeout or if you put the ball in play. If you make an out, you're out. But the eye test would say that there will be a lot of situations where just putting the ball in play with 2 strikes will help your team.
And the leader in walks for the National League takes a base on balls. Second walk issued by Delgado.
And look at this for Joey Votto. This is where he was in the batter's box for the first delivery from Randall Delgado in this at bat. The count went to 2 strikes, and watch where he goes, all the way to the back line of the batter's box. to give himself as much time as possible to read that pitch. Is it going to be a strike? Is it going to be a ball? How is it moving? I've never really seen a guy move that far in the batter's box on a 2-strike approach.
His on-base percentage since the All-Star break is over .550. Here's Frazier. An RBI single his first time up.
Of course, if you're Brian Price, you say, yeah, but the guy hitting behind him hasn't done anything since the All-Star break. And, that happens from time to time. You get a red-hot hitter, but even though he's getting on base over half the time, the guys behind him in the lineup aren't doing anything to pick him up.
And that's Ben Frazier, who is really slumping despite the RBI in the first inning. Todd Frazier hitting under 200 in the second half of the season, just 4 home runs. He had 25 home runs at the All-Star break.
Look at this list. Back to Joey Votto for just a moment. Highest career on base percentage, minimum 1,000 games played. How about that list?
If you're on a list and you're 3 names below Rogers Hornsby, you're doing something right.
1 name ahead of Stan Musial.
Wow, a lot of Cardinals on there.
There's that crazy Britney haircut.
Boy, you were right on that one. Swing and a miss, 2-2.
Well, he's more aerodynamic this year.
Certainly looks thinner. We talked about that when the Reds were at Chase Field. He's as trim as we've seen him. Frazier shoots it down the left field line. That is a fair ball. Inciarte has it in the corner. Votto's in at third. A double for Frazier, the National League leader. It's his 35th.
Frazier got fooled a little bit. Good change up down. However, it drifted back over the inside part of the plate, giving Frazier a chance to keep it fair down into that left field corner.
So a 1-out walk to Votto, a double by Frazier have put runners at second and third for Jay Bruce. And here's Mike Harkey. He told us before the ball game they had hoped to get 75 pitches or 4 innings out of Randall Delgado, whichever came first.
It appears that the pitch count will arrive before the 4th inning. He's up to 61 right now in the ball game as Zach Godley begins to crank it up in that Diamondbacks bullpen.
I saw Zach give the Diamondbacks a couple of innings in Pittsburgh. He's on long relief duty here tonight. Reds get the tying run to the plate. It's Bruce who popped up his first time. Lifted in the air, headed toward the seats, and out of play. Ender Spider-Man his way up that 15-foot wall. It was pretty impressive. Jay Bruce 0 for 8 in the series. Over the glove of Goldie, a base hit. Votto will score. Frazier will come in and score. And Bruce has a 2-run double. It's 4-3. And back-to-back doubles make this a 1-run ball game.
Yeah, this recently lethargic Reds offense starting to show some signs of life here. That's not a bad pitch either from Randall Delgado. A changeup on the outer part of the plate, fading away from Bruce. Bruce reaches out there and hooks it down that right field line for 2 RBI.
And he's the tying run at second with 1 away for Brennan Bosch, who struck out his first time up. Kicks away from Saltalamacchia, and Bruce will get third. And the wheels are coming off.
Spikes this ball in the dirt well out in front of home plate. It might be time for somebody else to go out there to the mound, or fake like you've got some dirt in the contact lens, or tie your shoe. Do something to slow the game down here and give Godley a chance to get loose.
Fly ball right field. Peralta at the track, at the wall. He'll play it off the wall. This will tie the ball game. An RBI double for Brennan Bosch. 3 consecutive Cincinnati doubles, and it's 4-4. And time to pull the plug. Here comes Chip Hill.
Another pitch that's not bad, knee high. It was in the middle of the plate to Brennan Bosch, but the changeup, I think after that first time through the order, the Reds hitters are well aware that that's Randall Delgado's best pitch, and last 3 doubles all came on changeups.
4-4 ball game in the third. Back after this.
Is brought to you in part by your Valley Honda dealers, where you'll get more standard features for less money. CenturyLink, your link to what's next. And by Mix One, great taste, no face, available at local retailers.
Along the Ohio River, Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, the Randall Delgado experiment gone horribly wrong here in the third. A walk and 3 straight doubles have made it a 4-4 ball game. Delgado is out and Zach Godley is in.
Zach Godley recently recalled from the minor leagues when we were in Pittsburgh earlier on this road trip. He's had an appearance in relief. Didn't look like the same guy in relief, however, as he did as a starting pitcher. He was outstanding as a starter for the Diamondbacks. Very calm, very poised out there on the mound. As a relief pitcher, he looked a little more excitable.
And remember, when he was in the Cubs system, he came over in the Miguel Montero trade. The Cubs had converted him into a relief pitcher, so relieving is not completely alien for him. The Diamondbacks have made him a starter once again, but he's back there on this road trip to give the bullpen some relief. He was a starter at the University of Tennessee. Tucker Barnhart, the catcher, 0-1. Brennan Bosch, the runner at second, 1 out. 3-run Cincinnati third. Right to Jake Lamb. That's all they'll get. 2 down. Second big league at bat now for Ryan Lamar, making his major league debut tonight, the center fielder. Zach Godley knows what that's like. Lamar just up from AAA Louisville after they lost Billy Hamilton and traded Marlon Byrd. Mom and Dad switch sides.
Trying to find those lucky seats.
He hit into a fielder's choice his first time up. Mom really grinds out these at bats.
Grind.
Gonna need a new manicure after this one. Ryan Lamar, a second-round pick out of the University of Michigan 5 years ago. 26-year-old rookie. Well, he really chokes up, and not just with 2 strikes. He's got a little bit of bat handle showing down there. They get the strike call for Mark Wagner at first. It's 0-2. There he is, choking up.
Well, with his speed, you have to believe that the Reds are trying to convince this young man to just put it in play on the ground, take advantage of your legs.
He's never been a power hitter. Good base runner. Called strike 3. And Zach Godley comes in, puts out the fire, sprints off the mound. But the Reds get 3. And we head to the 4th, tied at 4. Walking on the roof of the dugout. Hey fans, college football returns to Fox and Fox Sports 1 beginning Thursday, September 3rd. Jim Harbaugh, Michigan, the whole thing. They're going to roll that out there. He makes his debut as the head coach of his alma mater as the Wolverines take on Utah. The only place you can see the Harbaugh debut is on Fox Sports 1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Wear your khakis for that one. 4th inning in Cincinnati, 4-4, D-backs and Reds. Jake Lamb will lead it off against Anthony DeSclafani. Jake struck out his first at bat. I guess it's about that time, late August. Got to start thinking about college football. Great schedule of games on the Fox family of sports networks. ASU will roll out all their uniforms. Different one every game. They got a new uniform deal. Rich Rod will get things cranked up in Tucson. Hard to second, but right into the shift. Phillips is there. One away. Brings up Jared Saltalamacchia. Brandon Phillips always smiling out there. Plays with a lot of joy usually. I like guys that have fun while they're playing. Keep the shift on for Salty.
It's easier to have fun when you're playing well.
Yep.
Not so much with the way the Reds have been playing lately.
51 and 69, 25 and a half games back in the NL Central. Salty finds a gap and it rolls to the wall in left center. Jared Saltalamacchia, he's in at second with his 9th double. Driving the bus with one hand.
That's not real safe.
10-2, Jared, 10-2.
150th career double for Jared Saltalamacchia. I love these off the bat of a lefty. From our vantage point up here in the press box, you can see that ball slicing away from the center fielder. You know it's going to get down. Salty in scoring position.
He split the gap between Bosch and Lamar. And he's at second with a one out for Chris Owings, who singled his first time up. 6 for 9 in the series, CO.
Good idea. Todd Frazier way back at third base before that delivery, and CO had thoughts about dropping a bunt down there.
There was a strike on the outer half. And a long home run here, hit the facade of the second deck and left Thursday night. The bat has come alive in this series for Chris Owings. Shoots that one the other way, but foul, and it's 0-2. Seven hits for the Diamondbacks, 6 for the Reds. DeSclafani, you mentioned how he's throwing a lot of strikes, Bob. I mean, he is a guy that really does attack the strike zone. I mean, how about that? 69 pitches, 51 strikes. And one of the things Brian Price likes about him is he doesn't seem to have any fear out there. He's got an attitude about things. And he's a very aggressive pitcher, especially with that fastball.
You know, one thing that's hurt him a little bit tonight, much like Robbie Ray from time to time, is the foul balls. 10 two-strike foul balls, most of them by Ender Inciarte in that one at bat.
Yep.
But that helps run that pitch count up there a little bit.
65% fastballs. He's got a good hard slider that averages 87 miles an hour. It's a good strikeout pitch for him. Right to Suarez at short. Salty will have to stay put.
He beat that.
Yes, he did. Safe at first, says Mark Wegner. Suarez a little too cavalier down there at shortstop, and Owings hustling all the way, beat it out.
Well, Suarez, he's trying to get put on the bench. There's a routine ground ball right at him, as you said, a little too casual, a little too cool, and Chris Owings legs it out for an infield hit. Last night, Suarez dropped a line drive at shortstop. Skipped off his glove on into the outfield. He's just a little too cool for school out there right now.
Salty had to stay put at second. It's a base hit for CO. He's 2 for 2. They love the bat, Suarez. The defense has been So here's Godley. 2 on, 1 out. Gets the bunt down. It's a good one. Frazier has to barehand it. He's got no play. The bases are loaded. Zach Godley drops down a beauty. His first career base hit, Zach Godley.
Bunt single.
And they have the souvenir.
Boy, the Reds defense not doing DeSclafani any favors in this inning. I mean, I think pretty much everybody in the ballpark knew Zach Godley was going to try to put down a sac bunt, and somehow the Reds don't get an out on the play.
Diamondbacks playing small ball now, #1 in the National League in bunt base hits. Here's Inciarte, who homered on the first pitch of the ball game. His 4th of the year. Bases full, 1 out. One pitch homer and then an 11 pitch fly out to left. It's a funny game. This is inside. It's 1-1.
Yeah, it's weird.
And that is weird.
First 2 at bats, he's averaging 6 pitches per at bat.
You did the math there, did you?
1 and 11. Yeah.
Salty at third. Owings at second. Godley, the pitcher, at first. Going along. Well, mentioned that one of the things Brian Price likes about DeSclafani, it never looks like he's in the middle of a crisis. Not as vulnerable as some of the other guys. Doesn't get as emotional, but he's certainly in a jam here. D-backs trying to take advantage. 2-1 pitch. Center field. Lamar ranging over to left center. Here comes Saltalamacchia. Lamar slips, and that allows Owings to get to third. And it's 5-4 Diamondbacks. The RBI for Inciarte, his 2nd tonight. You hungry?
I'm always hungry. Tacos! Good thing we got it in early. Oh, Diamondbacks offense just on fire lately. Good at bat by Ender. Loft that ball in the air out to center field. Get that guy home from third base. Obviously hoping for a base hit in the gap, but take that sac fly.
Well, you've got Pollock and Goldie due up next. They're both 2 for 2 tonight. And AJ just operating in his own stratosphere right now. Back-to-back 4-hit games to open up the series. 2 for 2 tonight. Came into the ball game hitting .408 in August, and he's 10 for 12 in the series.
Question is, who got him out? This guy will get a Cy Young vote.
Well,
Sam LeCure was one of them.
Oh, I was going to say Todd. Remember that great catch that Todd Frazier made on the rocket to third that took away what would have been his 4th hit. He got the 4th hit later in the ball game, but hit a smash down the third base line that Frazier just snared. That was in the 6th inning last night.
And the funny thing is, the other out he made in this series was a questionable called third strike from John Lamb, the starter in Game 1 for the Reds.
Yeah, one that was looking. 2nd out of the 3rd back on Thursday. Able to hold up. He did not go, says Mark Wegner, and it's 2 balls and a strike on Pollock. It's not just a hot streak, and it's not just this series. Since July the 1st, he's hit .370. That's 2 solid months of .370. Popped it up. That's out of play. Since the 1st of July, a .370 batting average. Scored 37 runs in 41 games. And during that span, he has an on-base percentage that's over .430. Chris Owings is the runner at third. Zach Godley, the pitcher, at first.
Not quite sure why Joey Votto is holding Zach Godley on at first base.
Yeah, and if AJ shoots it the other way, it's a run.
Big hole on that right side of the infield. Zach Godley's not going anywhere. takes about a step and a half lead off over there at first base, but Joey Votto still holding him on the bag. Normally you would swing the first baseman around behind the runner and then back off as the pitch is delivered.
Well, bouncing one through the vacated hole where it's open right now is exactly how he got his last hit. But he rolls this one to Suarez at shortstop to get the force on Godley. They strand Owings. But the Diamondbacks get the lead back. The sac fly RBI by Inciarte makes it 5-4 D-backs.
Talked to my team at the University of Arizona. He was our alumni manager in 1984, and that's exactly what he told us then. He was very intense, and that was his message to us as college kids: is you need to play as hard as you can every day for as long as you can.
Todd Walsh back here at Great American Ballpark. Guys, an interesting story. We talked to Pete Rose last night. Remember, he gave that impassioned message about Mac's effort, and I brought that to Chip Hale. Back in 1984 at Sanson Field in Tucson, the Arizona Wildcats would have alumni games every year, and that year Pete Rose was the honorary manager, but he was still playing. But back in the day, a lot of the alums would come back and play, and as Chip Hale told the story, Pete Rose got a single and rolled Tommy Hinzo on a ground out to second, a college kid, which was illegal in college baseball. But that was the message from Pete Rose to the 1984 Arizona Wildcats, and in particular, Tommy Hinzo, of course, went on to play in the major leagues, but you got to leave it on the field.
He always did, that's for sure. Anthony DeSclafani, the pitcher, leads off the fourth against Zach Godley on in relief of Randall Delgado. By the way, we mentioned that 1-0 game that the Diamondbacks won a couple of years ago in Miami when Gerardo Parra hit the first pitch out for a home run, and that was the only run of the game. Brandon McCarthy won that game 1-0. That was indeed the same game, May 18th, 2013. The last time that happened prior to that, which is when the first pitch of the game was hit for a home run and is the only run of that game, September of 1963, and it was Pete Rose who hit it.
How about that?
At Shea Stadium. So enter tonight the first pitch of the ball game for a homer. Now they've scored tonight obviously many more runs since, but we did mention that game in Miami on which Parra homered. So that is our highly reliable staff following up as best it can. 2-2.
Pete Rose must have had something against the Mets, because I remember watching a game on TV when Pete hit 3 homers in one game against the Mets.
Well, remember the fight with Bud Harrelson?
Oh, yeah. He didn't like the Mets.
Yeah.
Boy, talk about breaking up double plays. This was back in the day. I mean, now we protect the catchers. There's no collisions at home plate anymore, and the base runner has to get down sliding into second. But back then, you didn't have to slide. you were encouraged to throw roll blocks on those middle infielders to break up to. And for a guy like Pete Rose, who ran pretty well and had that football mentality anyway, he used to absolutely crush middle infielders.
Is it possible, and I always find this fascinating because we saw it with Barry Bonds in San Francisco. You still see it in Milwaukee with Ryan Braun, and every case is certainly different. But is it possible to describe, as someone who's from Ohio, to other people who are not from Ohio, what Pete Rose means to this city and this state?
Probably not. You know, unless you've been here or had relatives here, or, you know, understand the mentality of people who live in the Rust Belt and work hard for a living and suffer through some miserable winters so they can suffer through a miserable summer. And Pete Rose was their guy. He was one of the boys, came from the hills outside of Cincinnati, grew up poor, played his butt off to get everything he earned over the course of his career. And, you know, a lot of people feel that just reflects the mentality of people that come from this area.
Born in Cincinnati?
Yeah, just right down the road, Western Hills.
Oh, 0-2 on Brandon Phillips.
Hey, another guy from Western Hills, local guy, Don Zimmer.
Popeye.
Yeah.
Great baseball career.
Yep.
Well, you had the rolling slides. You just didn't have the potato punches back then.
No potato punches.
The forearm to the head.
That's taking it way too far. You can run as fast as you can and dive right at a guy's knees at second base, but don't hit him in the head with a forearm.
Well, you're now discouraged from taking out the opponent, but you're now encouraged to hit your teammate in the head with your forearm. What's happened there?
I think it all started with the Jets. You know, the bash to the teammate. Didn't work
Jets.
out. Yeah. Geno Smith.
Oh, yeah.
That didn't work out well for them at all.
Well, if you've seen Geno Smith play, it might have. There's a fly ball to right center. A.J. Pollock will run it down. Boy, does he cover some ground out there.
Well, this is
Ray Fosse.
Yeah, this is the famous one. I mean, Pete Rose is leaning forward so hard he's off balance, falling forward as he makes contact with Ray Fosse. Of course, that took a lot out of Ray Fosse in his career. But watch Pete as he leans forward. I mean, he's just stumbling into the plate as he makes contact and knocks the catcher for a loop. But that's the way Pete played every day. All-star game.
Which that was.
Yeah. Spring training game. Wiffle ball game in the backyard. It didn't matter. If you were in his way, he was going to knock you down.
And he played, I mean, later in his career, he played right field for the Phillies in the World Series in '83. He played all over the field. Second base, third base, outfield, first base. 1, 2, 3, 4th for Zach Godley, who's retired all 5 he's faced. But he didn't have this, the potato punch. Ow.
clean, crisp Coors Light, celebrating the outstanding career of Tony Perez here at the ballpark tonight. Yeah, you just said a moment ago with Brandon Phillips, you like a guy that has fun when he plays a game. Tony Perez was very serious about his game, but he had a lot of fun doing it. That was a very serious big red machine. A lot of guys who were real grinders. And Tony brought a little levity to the ball game while putting up tremendous numbers on a yearly basis.
Yeah, and late into his career, played for the Expos for a long time. Had a very good year with the Red Sox. Was in Boston for 3 years. Then came back to finish in Cincinnati. Here's Goldie to lead off the fifth. And speaking of the Red Sox, you always talk about that 75 World Series. And, of course, Carlton Fist's home run to win Game 6 is the signature moment of that series, but the Reds won in 7. But people forget the Red Sox came back after that Game 6 win as Goldie drops one into right. He's 3 for 3. And they were leading Game 7. They had a 3-0 lead in Game 7 of the World Series. So it looked like they might come back and win. But then Bill Lee, who was the starter in that game for the Red Sox, threw that infamous Ephus pitch, as he called it, which was the old Rip Sewell blooper pitch, to Tony Perez, and Tony launched it over the Green Monster. No seats in the Green Monster, into the screen at that time. It was a 2-run homer, made it 3-2, but it got the Reds back in the ball game. And they ended up winning, broke a 3-3 tie in the 9th inning. And won the game 4-3, Game 7. But that Tony Perez homer was the game changer. And maybe the series changer for Cincinnati. And this is, watch the Ephus pitch here from the lefty Bill Lee, the spaceman.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, not so much. And he just cranks it into the screen. And that was the 6th inning. Red Sox led 3-0 in Game 7. And there it goes. It was 3-2. The Reds eventually tied it 3-3 and won it in the 9th.
Well, not only a great player, but one of the great gentlemen in this game. You'd be hard-pressed to talk to anybody during his era or since that has anything negative to say about Tony Perez. Just a delightful man.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun to talk to. Great joy about him. His whole family was here. His 2 sons. That one gets away from Votto, but Goldie stays put. His 2 beautiful granddaughters. And the whole family was here. And all the big red machine. And they celebrate Tony Perez weekend number 24. Peralta has struck out and hit into a double play. He's down 0-1. Villarreal warming up in the Red bullpen. Sclafani at 85 pitches, 62 strikes. Nothing doing. We talked about Goldie and how he just has not looked like the same guy. 0 for 9 in the series. 4 strikeouts. He punched out 3 times last night, but tonight 3 for 3, a homer and 2 singles. The home run is first since July 27th, and there goes Goldie. He's in there. And that's number 20. Paul Goldschmidt, a 2020 season for the Diamondbacks. And it's another D-back stolen base.
And that's one where Goldie just took off. You see the 2020 club all time for the Diamondbacks. DeSclafani was still standing on the rubber. He hadn't even started his delivery to home plate yet, and Goldie was off like a shot for second base.
2-2 on Peralta. David's really had some long at bats in the ball game tonight. They hadn't really played a whole lot since that 0 for 6 Tuesday night in the 15-inning loss at Pittsburgh. And look at this. We talked about this. He's much more selective, laying off those pitches away that aren't strikes. And he has seen a ton of pitches tonight and really made DeSclafani work. He wanted that away, but he left it out over the plate. Peralta missed it, and it stays 2-2. DeSclafani might have got a little lucky there. That one leaked back out over the plate. Three and two, another extended at bat. He's taken it to a full count in both his last two plate appearances. Aaron Hill is on deck. On the ground to Phillips. Stumbles and recovers. Goldie to third, one out. He hit it to the right side. Hey fans, it's now time for you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use the hashtag AZDataStrongFan and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Here's Aaron Hill. Aaron 0 for 2. At least one base hit in 7 of his last 8 starts. 231 on the year. Aaron in there at second base tonight. Chris Owings at shortstop. The night off for Nick Ahmed, who's been scuffling. Infield in for the Reds.
How about this, partner? 26% of the pitches that DeSclafani has thrown in the ball game tonight have come to David Peralta.
I told you, we talked about that. He's really made that part of his game. The more selective he gets, the better he is up there. Aaron Hill gives this a ride out to Bosch in left. Here comes Goldie. He will tag up and score the RBI for Hill, and it's 6-4 Diamondbacks. Single, stolen base, ground ball to the right side, sac fly to left. Manufacturing runs.
Aaron Hill had a sac fly in the 9th inning of the ball game last night to drive home A.J. Pollock. Just a smart at bat. Make sure you get something you're going to lift in the air. Ideally, you hit it over the outfielder's head or in the gap. But at worst, a deep enough fly ball to get Goldie home from third.
And the Reds will put the shift on for Jake Lamb, who's 0 for 2. There's a strike. Jake back in there. Didn't see a whole lot of playing time lately after the Diamondbacks faced 4 straight left-hand starting pitchers. 4 for 27 on the road trip. Gets this up in the air to center. Lamar backing up near the corner. And he's got it on the warning track. But the Diamondbacks tack on one more. Goldie 3 for 3. Aaron Hill the RBI. They lead at 6-4.
to me. When he was traded, I cried, and I don't mind admitting it. He was the backbone of our ball club. I mean, he was the one guy who was constant. 0 for 4, 4 for 4. It didn't matter. Tony Perez was it. And
Hall of Famer Johnny Bench from our three-part series, if you will, of conversations with him on Diamondbacks Live tonight and again tomorrow afternoon. I just wanted to give you guys a taste of his feelings, guys, about the great Tony Perez. And it was interesting being around some of those guys that were assembling yesterday for a dinner honoring Tony Perez. And the second they got into the room together, you could just hear the sparks flying. And Tony Perez was the ringleader of it all, as Johnny Bench predicted he would be, telling Pete Rose what Johnny had just said about him. So it never ends. It's 1976 all over again the minute those guys get together again.
And it will be forever.
Yep.
Joey Votto walked and scored his last time up. He's 0 for 1. Remember, they traded Tony Perez to make room for a guy they thought would be the first baseman for a whole nother generation, Dan Dreesen, a guy you played with.
Yeah. Had himself a nice career, Pretty tough to equal Tony Perez or fill his shoes, but, Dan Dreesen was the guy that had to do it.
But he was, it seems, if memory serves, he was the first quote-unquote new guy to be introduced into that whole group.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Which should, that's got to be brutal.
Wow.
Yes, he went. Mike Winters at third. Says strike 2.
We showed you Joey Votto's last at bat against Randall Delgado when he was way up in the front of the batter's box at the beginning of the at bat, and then with 2 strikes moved all the way to the back line. For Godley, he's just planted himself on that back line facing a pitcher he's not real familiar with. Maybe has seen a little bit of video. And I think the reason he was so far forward in the box on Randall Delgado is to try to take that changeup away a little bit. Guys that throw hard, you try to move back as far away from them as you possibly can. Guys that rely a lot on off-speed pitches, you try to move up in the box.
2-2. Shift is on. And he rolls it up the middle, a base hit to open up the 5th. Would it make sense to move up in the box against a heavy sinker guy like Godley can be to try to negate some of that sink?
Yeah, maybe get the ball before it gets to the bottom of the sinking action in the hitting zone. Yeah, cheat up forward a little bit. Of course, you have to deal with the velocity, but yeah, that's something that used to be done a lot more than it is today. I mean, Joey Votto might be one of the very few players in the big leagues that ever moves in the batter's box. Most guys stand in the same spot for righties, lefties, hard throwers, soft throwers, knuckleballers, same spot all the time.
Todd Frazier 2 for 2. A single, a double, an RBI. He scored a run.
I told the story in the past about Keith Hernandez when he was playing first base for the Mets. He used to come up to the plate and he would stand right on the inside line of the batter's box with his toes very nearly on the inside corner. The pitcher would go into his delivery and he'd take one big step back away from the plate. He would try to bait you into throwing certain pitches and then take them right away from you. Other times he'd start way off the plate and you'd think, man, I'm just going to pound one out there on that outside corner, and then he'd take a big step forward and cover that outside corner.
Guys now seem so routine oriented, even way more so than before. And there's an OCD factor there as well. You think that's part of why guys don't move around in the box more? They do the same thing all the time?
I think that has a lot to do with it. Their comfort zone, where they feel like they can be the most effective in that batter's box, and then just try to adjust to what they see from an opposing pitcher. And I think velocity has a lot to do with it too. Guys throw so much harder nowadays, top to bottom. And as a general rule, most hitters try to get as close to that back line as they can to try to give themselves as much time to recognize the pitch. Todd Frazier right on that back line.
2-2.
When I played with the Giants, Jack Clark, our right fielder, used to face, they had a left-hander in San Diego. His name, honest to God, was Daniel Boone. And Daniel Boone was about, 5'7", weighed about 140 pounds, couldn't break a pane of glass. And Jack Clark would start where Todd Frazier is As the ball was delivered, he'd take a big step forward with his right foot, replant, and then step forward and hit the ball. By the time he swung the bat, he was almost out of the front of the batter's box. Got a running start against Daniel Boone.
Seen Ichiro do that for a long time from the left-hand side. 3-2 on Frazier. Godley retired all 5 he had faced on in relief of Randall Delgado until Votto singled to open up the inning, and now Frazier's really giving him fits here. Uncle.
Spreading the souvenirs here at Great American Ballpark tonight. I'll tell you another thing about Jack Clark that I found kind of interesting. You know, so many teams would try to pitch him inside to take away his power. He had real short arms, and he loved the ball from the middle of the plate in. But everybody would try to jam him. You couldn't get a fastball by him on the inside part of the plate.
He could launch him with the best of them, Jack Clark. Well, Godley's in a mess. A single and a walk. 2 on, nobody out for Jay Bruce.
A little bit like the left-handed version of Rubio Durazo. Ruby had very short arms, and teams would try to pound him inside, and he would just wear them out.
Chip Hale talked about that, how it's tough on guys like Nick Ahmed who are long-limbed, lanky. It's a bullpen ball game. Bruce, a 2-run double his last time up. Knocked it down the right field line over the head of Goldie. Looks like you have to leave a message with a bullpen phone. We'll call you back. We're not available to take your call. But your call is important to us. There's strike one to Bruce.
Please enjoy the best of the Carpenters.
Right to Goldie. They get 1 and they get 2. Nobody does that better than Paul Goldschmidt. Nobody. Votto in at third, 2 outs. And here comes Brian Price. He'd like a word. Did they get Frazier at second? Don't usually see managers anymore at all come out on the field to discuss calls.
This is a real oddity.
He's out there with Marty Foster at second. Neighborhood play scenario, perhaps. Did the throw extend the infielder enough to force him off the bag?
What a play by Goldie. We've talked about it every time he does this, but you make that throw to second base, and before the ball even gets to the target, he's already turned his head, run to first base, find the bag, stretch out, and take the return throw.
Now, if he can convince, and I think he has, if he can convince Marty Foster that the neighborhood play does not apply, they can look at this. See, if that throw makes Owings extend and pulls him off the bag, then the neighborhood play, which is a safety issue, is no longer a concern. That opens up the can of worms to take a look. And Brian Price, I think very smartly here, has them putting on the headsets.
Yeah, it's worth a shot.
It's all about the throw, pulling the fielder, in this case Owings, far enough away from the bag so that that neighborhood play is no longer a priority. And then if you say that it's not and you look at it, then is the foot on the bag when he's got the ball, and you start going down that road. And Brian Price might have a case here.
Yeah, it looks like Marty Foster is describing the play and letting the umpires back in New York know exactly what it is that they want them to look for.
Now remember, the neighborhood play is not subject to review. But if Owings has to extend far enough to come off the bag to catch the ball, like right there, then it no longer falls under the category of the neighborhood play.
Now watch Goldie. Just watch Goldie. He makes his throw to second. That ball's halfway there, and he just turns and runs to the bag to make sure he can be there in time to take the return throw. Keep the pitcher out of the play whenever possible.
And we are told that this is indeed a Reds challenge. It's another replay review brought to you by Mix One. This is not an umpire crew chief review. This is a Cincinnati challenge. Challenging the out call at second base.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we saw a manager run out onto the field.
I think Brian Price should get a ton of credit, no matter how this turns out, because he's got them looking at something they ordinarily would not review. And he used the rules to do it. So it then becomes, I guess it's a judgment call. Was the throw off enough to extend Owings? Is that a judgment?
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, the throw was right over the base, but it was high.
And the reason they don't look at the neighborhood play is because Major League Baseball considers that a safety issue.
Getting back to what we were talking about earlier, breaking up double plays back in the day.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah.
And this, it looks like somebody in New York has to think, well, did he have to come far enough off the bag to take the neighborhood thing out of the mix? And the decision is made, it looks like. And he is safe at second. The Reds win the challenge. So Frazier gets second base, Votto's at third. And only one out in the inning. The call is overturned. And that's another replay review brought to you by Mix One. An updated look at the standings. Well, that's creates a lot more work for Zach Godley now. So Brian Price retains his challenge. That was really well done by the Reds manager there. Second and third, one out for Brennan Bosch, who doubled his last time up. He's 1 for 2. So that ends up being a 3-6-3 putout at first. And Frazier safe at second. Bosch's RBI double in the third, just his 9th hit all year. Tying runs in scoring position with a one out. And Godley about to knock on the door of 40 pitches in relief of Delgado. As Randall went only 2 1/3 tonight. Well, we may run out of baseballs by the time this thing's over. Andrew Chafin in the Diamondback bullpen. A lot of foul balls tonight. Diamondbacks trying to get back to 500 on the year. Reds trying to snap a 7-game losing streak.
Bosch just smothering pitch after pitch, just catching the very top part of the baseball and banging it that time off his own foot right out in front of home plate. He's pulled one foul down the first base line.
Well, he's a big guy up there, 6'4", and he's got that long bat. He can get to a lot of pitches. He's got a pretty big wingspan with that thing up there. Uncle. .40 pitches for Zach, 30 strikes. Grounder to second. Aaron Hill. He'll settle for the one out as Votto scores to make it a 6-5 ball game. So that overturned call looms very large for Zach Godley. Frazier in at third. Second RBI tonight for Brennan Bosch. Two down for the catcher, Tucker Barnhart. He has walked and lined out to third. Tying run 90 feet away, 2 outs. There's a strike on 1. Reaches down and spins it toward the hole. Lamb is there. They strand Frazier, but the Reds get a run back. We are through 5. Diamondbacks lead at 6-5. Here's what's next, brought to you by CenturyLink. We'll see Chris Owings coming up. So far, CO 2 for 2. Drop by and to say hi, first of all, and I'm honored he gave me this autographed picture.
Nice.
You get a live shot of that? We have a live shot. Where are we? There we are.
Nice. Very nice.
Made out yet to Steve and everything. And I wish you luck tomorrow. Now, I understand tomorrow's a big one. No script. This is real. This time it counts. Good luck. We're pulling for you. Mr. Red, everybody. Don't get a big head. It says, to Steve, the only person in Arizona with a bigger head than mine. Well, that's true.
Ooh, ouch.
Well done. I said it's from the heart, he said. I like that. Mr. Red, all right, get out of here. You're done.
Beat it.
Go get him tomorrow. It's my boy, Mr. Red. Shift is on. Salty. That dude BP smothers that one behind the new Reds pitcher, Pedro Villarreal. And quickly one away in the 6th. Skip Schumacher takes over and left for Brennan Bosch. And here is the new pitcher, the right-hander Pedro Villarreal. His 5th stint up with the Reds this year. As Anthony DeSclafani's night ends right here. 4th time this season that DeSclafani has given up 6 runs. Chris Owings 2 for 2. I was a little worried there'd be some tension between me and Mr. Red because I was kind of giving him a hard time, Mr. Red. Yeah. I'm glad to see that all's well. Owings drives it to right center. Diving catch by the rookie, Ryan Lamar. His first major league game in front of mom and dad, and he makes a beautiful catch to take a base hit away from Chris Owings. Here's mom and dad.
A sinking liner toward that gap in right center. We talked about Lamar's speed earlier, and he showcases it right there. Closing ground, nice diving catch.
Well, Villarreal, quite the opposite of DeSclafani. 3 pitches, 2 outs in the 6th, and here's Zach Godley will take the at-bat. He had his first major league hit in his last at-bat, a perfectly placed bunt.
That's kind of Villarreal's thing. He's not a big-time strikeout pitcher. He doesn't walk a lot of guys. He pitches to quick contact and lets his defense work behind him. Well, this is mind-boggling. Each team in this ball game up to this point has hit 27 foul balls, 54 total foul balls. We're only in the bottom of the 5th inning.
But is there anything to attribute that to? It's just a freak of nature.
I guess. I mean, certainly movement on the pitches will cause you to miss hit balls and hit them out of play rather than put them in play fair. Ooh. Foul ball number 55.
A lot of souvenirs to be had tonight. Everybody in the ballpark got a Tony Perez statue, a miniature version of the one they unveiled outside the ballpark today. Nice touch by the Reds. Godley strikes out. Villarreal comes in and works a 1-2-3-6. Diamondbacks hanging on to a 6-5 lead.
Arizona is brought to you in part by Card Power from Arizona Federal Credit Union. Now that's the power of us. And by Phoenix International Raceway. Join PIR on November 15th for NASCAR. Visit us at phoenixraceway.com and get your tickets now.
The Ohio River. Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Steve Berthune, Bob Brentley, and Todd Walsh with you. Bottom 6, Diamondbacks lead the Reds 6-5. And rookie Ryan Lamar leads it off against rookie Zach Godley. Lamar in his major league debut. He has hit into a fielder's choice and struck out looking in his first 2 big league at bats. I know I've asked you this a million times, and for the life of me I can't remember what you said, but what was your first day like, the first big league game?
That was a basket case.
Good to see nothing's changed.
Yeah.
He lines out to CO. There's Mom and Dad.
Yeah, it was right here in Cincinnati at Old Riverfront Stadium.
It was right here.
Yeah.
Boy, Mom really grinds these at bats out.
Get closer, Mom. Line drive that time. Yeah, Mike Lacoste was the starting pitcher for the Reds that night. I went 0 for against him, but then got into the Reds bullpen, and Scott Brown gave up my first major league base hit. A little ground ball back up the middle, just snuck through.
Ground ball with eyes. Here's Skip Schumacher. After the double switch, now in left field, batting ninth. Pitcher spot is sixth in the Cincinnati order. Schumacher's first at bat tonight. He's at 209 on the year, no homers. A couple of hits in the series, though. That thing just dropped right off the planet. Godley came in, retired the first 5 he faced on in relief of Delgado. Votto had a single to lead off the 5th. He walked Frazier. It was 2 on, nobody out. Had the double play call that was overturned on review. They got a run on a ground out, and other than that, he's been very effective. 2-2 now on Schumacher. 50 pitches so far for Zach, 37 strikes. This young man certainly looks like he has a bright future for the Diamondbacks. Reaches out and dunks it to center. AJ runs it down though. 2 outs. Take a look at our State Farm report of the game. The 1-1 Dansby Swanson for the Hillsboro Hops yesterday against Boise. 2 for 4, couple of doubles. Boy, the extra base hits are starting to pile up.
6 of his 7 hits, extra bases, 9 RBI on those 7 hits.
It's been a long year for him. Anything about all he went through with a whole long college season for the top program in the country. And you go through all the College World Series stuff and the draft and then the negotiations and the signing and then gets hit in the face and now he's in Hillsboro. I mean, man, that's a lot to go through in one calendar year.
And not much of what you do in a college season, even going to the College World Series, prepares you for professional baseball.
Why is that?
You play a Tuesday afternoon game, you play Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday, then you play again on Tuesday. In professional baseball, you play every day. And that is a huge change. I don't care what program you came from, high school, college, going out there every day is a big difference.
It's a beautiful part of baseball. It's there for you every day. Godley ahead of Brandon Phillips 0-2. Phillips singled and scored in the first. He's 1 for 3.
It's funny when your friends, when you make it to the big leagues and they don't quite have a grasp of it, even in the minor league. Hey, you want to go play golf tomorrow? How about November?
Talk to me then.
Yeah.
I've had those conversations myself, actually.
Yeah. Hey, you want to go to a movie tomorrow night?
Are you not aware of what's going on here?
No.
He gets Phillips to chase, and Godley gets the strikeout. He sprints off the mound. After a 1-2-3 6th, we go to the 7th. Diamondbacks lead at 6-5.
this season. Dad and Daughter Day is Saturday, August 29th. Each special event pack includes a ticket to the D-backs versus A's game, a keepsake photo, and your choice of a D-backs dad or D-backs daughter ball cap. Buy tickets now online at dbacks.com/events.
I love that idea. That's a great idea.
Tremendous idea.
Get the little ones involved in baseball any way you can. They certainly do a great job of that here in Cincinnati. A great tradition of baseball in this city. Ender Inciarte leads off the Diamondbacks 7th. They have out-hit the Reds 10-7. They lead it 6-5. Frazier in a step or two at third. Ender a home run on the first pitch of the ball game off Anthony DiSclafani. His 4th of the year. He drove in a run with a sac fly RBI his last time up, 1 for 2. This is our Chaz Roberts air conditioning cool play of the game. First pitch of the ball game, and there it goes.
Doesn't get much cooler than that. One pitch, a 1-0 lead.
Boy, Lamar in center is really shallow on Inciarte. There's a ton of room behind him all the way to that 404 corner in straightaway center. That's Juan Lagares shallow. Yanks it down the right field line. Foul. Boy, the ball boy really laid out for that one down there. That is some serious want.
A leaping attempt off the glove. You see him.
Look at the hops on this kid right here. Noonan. Oh, he got a web on it. That's a major want.
Yeah, not quite what we see from our Gold Glovers at home. They'd have made that play.
No question. Ooh, good pitch, but he missed inside. It's full 3-2. Usually those guys, they just kind of give up on it, but that he's all over it. Ender drives this to Bruce in right on the run at the track, and it's off the glove. And Inciarte will get second here. It carried over his head in right. And now it's a snowball fight. They're throwing it all over the infield. Driving the bus, Ender Inciarte. We'll see how they score that one. Right off the mitt, just like the ball dude.
Well, Jay Bruce has never been known for his defensive prowess out there in right field. Tough play, gets a glove on it, just can't close the glove around the baseball. And then by the time he runs it down, throws it back in, Suarez missed the throw back to the infield.
Look, they're 25.5 games out. They rule it a double for Ender as 21st. They've lost 7 in a row. It's got to be tough. It's the end of August. It's been a miserable season. They're going nowhere. And a lot of their guys have been traded, but we have seen them, Bob, throughout this series. Just kind of ole a bunch of plays. We've seen it with Suarez at shortstop. Bruce did not appear to be in full gear there, chasing that one. It's just a lackluster effort out there.
And, you know, one thing these Reds players that are on the field right now, and granted they've had injury issues, guys that are up here that probably shouldn't be, or in roles that maybe they aren't suited for, but playing for a job next year in some of these guys' case. And boy, that is no way to go about your business. Lack of focus, lack of concentration, lack of effort.
Came up and in on A.J. Pollock, who's 2 for 3 with a pair of singles. And A.J.'s ahead 2-0 with Ender at second. I mean, they just look like the team that's lost 7 straight. It's lethargic. And like you said, it's every day. It's every day. So I don't want to say it's hard to blame them, but it's a little bit understandable, certainly.
That's where the mental toughness comes in. I mean, there are a lot of ball players out there that have tremendous physical gifts. A.J. grounds one down to Frazier. He'll fling across for the out. Yeah, but if you can't get your mind in gear and get your mind and body to work together on a daily basis, it doesn't matter how many physical skills you have. Teams aren't going to want you to play for them.
There's Jay Bell, the bench coach. Goldie 3 for 3. It's been a long year for Brian Price.
Well, I know that feeling. Looking at the lineup card, hoping there's some kind of an answer on there somewhere.
All the answers are on the list that's on the disabled list.
This is all I have to choose from.
Got some pretty good names. They're on the wrong list, though. Goldie 3 for 3. A homer, 2 singles. A 2-run homer in the first inning, his 23rd of the year. And his first home run since July 27th. He had gone 22 games and just over 100 plate appearances without a home run. Gets this in the air, right center field, way back and gone. Goldie 4 for 4, his second home run tonight. That's 24. And it's 8-5 Diamondbacks. What's all this about a slump?
Yeah, really. Man.
That's what you were talking about yesterday. The Goldie smash to right center. That is his trademark hit right there.
Breaking ball stayed over the heart of the plate. Oh, just absolutely smokes it to that gap in right center.
And you always listen for what we have started calling up here, that Goldie sound. It's a different sound. Take a listen.
It's crisp. That ball is not on the bat very long. And the quicker you can launch that ball, the more crisp that sound is. And when Goldie's locked in like he apparently is tonight, we've been hearing that sound a lot.
He was 0 for 9 in this series with 4 strikeouts. He struck out 3 times last night alone, but tonight 4 for 4. 2 homers, 2 singles, 4 RBIs. He scored 3 times and stolen a base. His second multi-home run game this year. 2-1 on David Peralta. Peralta 0 for 3. That's well hit, but right into the shift. Brandon Phillips drops that Gold Glove down there. 2 down. Goldie back to doing Goldie things and making that Goldie sound.
Played for Jim Davenport with the San Francisco Giants briefly, and in the advanced meetings, Davey used to talk about certain hitters. The ball don't make a sound coming off his bat. Those were guys that obviously weren't swinging the bat the way Goldie is tonight. Ball don't make a sound coming off his bat.
Quiet hitters.
Another one of the Jim Davenport sayings was, you hit a ball to the outfield, didn't hit it hard enough to bend the grass.
The Diamondbacks took a quick 3-0 lead after half an inning. Reds chipped away. They tied it up at 4 after 3. And every time the Diamondbacks have taken the lead, the Reds have answered back, and the Diamondbacks have countered. And now they have a lead back up to 3 runs again here in the 7th. Able to hold up, but it's 2-2.
Just drops off that outside corner. That's that lead him out of the strike zone pitch.
Yanked. Foul. That was the Aaron Hill pull a bullet ball that you like to talk about. You can still turn on those.
Aaron Hill has a slugging percentage of about 900 in foul territory.
Quick bat. Jumps on it. An RBI sac fly his last time up. He's 0 for 2. Gets this up in the air. Schumacher's out there. And that's the inning. But Inciarte gets it started with a double, and then Goldie cleans up. Boom! His second homer tonight. And it's 8-5 Diamondbacks. Hey fans, weekdays, don't miss America's Pregame as Mike and Molly bring you live reports from around the country for the latest from the NFL training camps, and they'll get you ready for a full night of Major League Baseball action. You can catch America's Pregame every weekday at 3 on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Paul Goldschmidt is back, 4 for 4, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, and it's 8-5 Diamondbacks as Andrew Chafin is on to open up the 7th. His 51st appearance, and Andrew Chafin has proven to be one of the best relief pitchers in the National League this year. 19 2/3 scoreless innings. A consecutive scoreless inning streak that right now is the second longest in the majors, behind only Dellin Betances. Betances, who gave up a run today, is now off the list. So Andrew Chafin is number 1, 19 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. And Eugenio Suarez, the shortstop, leads off the Reds' 7th.
Maybe rising to the top of that list will be the recognition that Andrew Chafin needs to start to develop some heat for that Rookie of the Year consideration.
Well, it's tough for setup guys. You got to really put up some impressive numbers. And we know how valuable he's been, a converted starter. He has really found a niche. Behind on Suarez, 3-1. Suarez singled back in the first. He's 1 for 3. Suarez, Votto, Frazier, 2, 3, and 4 in the Reds' 7th. Diamondbacks have out hit Cincinnati 12-7. They lead at 8-5. Each team has left 3.
Let's take a look at our Geico This Day in Major League Baseball history. Back on August 22nd, 2007, Tony La Russa managed his 4,409th career game, passed Bucky Harris for 3rd place on the all-time games managed list.
By a diving Aaron Hill and into right center, a base hit for Suarez. He's 2 for 4. Nick Ahmed is now in at shortstop, replacing Chris Owings. Diamondbacks will put the shift on now for Joey Votto, who has walked, singled, and scored twice. 0-1. Votto a home run last night against a lefty reliever, Keith Hessler. Votto's 4th homer in his last 9 games. Diamondbacks look like double switch, so Chris Owings takes over at second for Aaron Hill, and Ahmed moves to short.
And Nick will hit in the pitcher spot 9, and the pitcher will now hit in the spot previously occupied by Aaron Hill,
which was 5th. What was that? See that?
Yeah. Who knows? Joey Votto does a lot of weird things.
Little chest bump. I think it looks like an NFL defensive back after he broke up a pass. Richard Sherman does that kind of stuff. What are we doing here? 1-2. Bounce that one.
Nice stop. One of the toughest plays a catcher will have to block, that breaking ball that hits that far out in front of home plate. Nice job.
Well, you always say no such thing as a bad block.
That's true. Keep that runner where he is. You've done your job. The toughest one to block is always a fastball, because I've said it many times, you never anticipate a big league pitcher throwing his fastball out in front of home plate in the dirt. So usually it catches you by surprise, but a breaking ball or a changeup, you're always anticipating a pitch in the dirt.
Well, Votto's worked at full 3-2. Well, you really got to work to get this guy out. You really got to work. Frazier on deck. He's got 2 hits and a walk. Shoots it the other way down the left field line, but foul. Votto really spreads those feet wide apart, gets down in that crouch, chokes up with 2 strikes. And checks his swing. Well, the walks leader in the league walks for the 2nd time tonight. He's aboard for the 3rd time. 2 on, nobody out for Chafin. And the hitter is Frazier. Suarez at second, Votto at first. Frazier an RBI single in the first. He doubled and scored in the third. Walked his last time up. Tying run at the plate. Nobody out in the 7th. Chafin has gone to a full count on both hitters he's faced so far. Warming up in the Diamondback bullpen.
Frazier's the guy you want at the plate in a double play situation. 16 times already this year he's grounded into a double play. A good pitch down there at the bottom of the knees. Let your defense work.
Has not performed well in these spots. .95, 1-2. Fly ball, left field. Ender's got it in front of the wall, and everybody has to hold up. Frazier, the home run derby champ, almost took it out of here, but it died at the track. Allowed out number 1 in the 7th.
Hanging breaking ball. I think Frazier thought he got enough of that one as he's tracking the flight out there. A little frustration as Ender Inciarte makes the catch. I'll tell you what, the Diamondbacks didn't realize it, but Joey Votto had gone all the way to second base. He was sure that ball was gone.
Well, you don't see a lot of those in this ballpark.
Nope. Usually if you get it up in the air like that, it's going to go.
And you can tell by all the way all the Reds reacted. That's usually way out of here. So they dodge a big-time bullet there. Here's Bruce. A 2-run double back in the 3rd. 1 for 3. And 1 for 10 in the series. That's out of play. Ball and a strike. Bruce will take left-handers deep. He's got 53 home runs against lefties since the start of the 2010 season. That ties him with Albert Pujols for the most of the majors over that span.
You know, we've seen some hitters try to get real close to home plate to get an angle on that pitcher. Skip Schumacher sitting right underneath the camera. He's technically not in the first base dugout. He's in the camera well, trying to get a look at Andrew Chafin's deliveries.
It's right in front of the camera.
Yeah, guy. I don't know if it's much of an advantage, but a lot closer to home plate than he would be if he were sitting on the bench. Now joined by rookie Ryan Lamar.
How about the moss on Lamar? Left field, Inciarte one more time. Runs it down near the line. And Suarez hustles back into the bag. 2 outs. Chafin living dangerously, but so far so good. So here's the pitcher's spot. And we'll see Jason Bourgeois, who has started the first 2 games of this series in center field. He's got 3 hits in this series, including a triple Thursday, a couple of RBIs. And Chip Hale wants to make the move. We've had David Hernandez warming up down to the Diamondback bullpen, and that'll be it for Chafin. So the first 2 reached against Andrew. He got 2 fly ball outs, so 2 on, 2 out for Hernandez when we come back from Cincinnati.
Back at Chase Field next season, and we want to see you there too. Purchase a 28-game half or full season ticket and get the best seats at discounted prices. Go to dbacks.com/tickets for more information today.
Reds have a threat going here after the first two reached in the inning. David Hernandez on to try and get that final out. You got Suarez at second, Votto at first, 2 down, and Jason Bourgeois hits for the pitcher spot 6th in the Cincinnati order. There's a strike, 0-1. Bourgeois, 232 and a homer, 3 hits in the series. One and one.
Very close that time from David Hernandez, trying to dot that outside corner with a fastball. We've seen pitches farther out of the zone called strikes, but David does not get the call.
Mike McClinsky, the plate umpire tonight. 1-1 pitch. Trouble with his footing there on the mound, and Hernandez will do some landscaping over there. Bourgeois 4 for 15 as a pinch hitter this year, including a home run. Popped him up. Saltalamacchia and Lamb. Salty gives way. Lamb has it, and Hernandez strands 2. First 2 reach for the Reds, and the bullpen gets the job done through 7. Diamondbacks lead at 8-5. That was the Cox Gigalife high-speed highlights. Diamondbacks and D-back Nation in Cincinnati lead at 8-5 as we start the 8th inning. The Diamondbacks a chance to clinch a series win here and get back to 500 on the year. And the new pitcher for the Reds, the right-hander Ryan Matthews, his 41st appearance of the year. D-backs went 6-4 on that 10-game road trip. To start the month, we were in Seattle, Houston, and Washington. Now they can match that mark on this 10-game road trip through Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and now Cincinnati, with 2 more wins here against the Reds and a sweep of this 4-game set. And that finally will conclude this long stretch we're on here of 20 of 26 on the road. And
sandwiched between those 2 10-game road trips, 4-2 homestand against these Reds and the Philadelphia Phillies.
And so that's... If things continue to go this way at the end, when you look back at that stretch of 26, they're going to have played really well.
Yeah.
Some impressive results. Hopefully hang on here and get back to 61 and 61.
cover over 10,000 miles from the beginning of that trip to Seattle until we get back to Arizona tomorrow night.
Went through a lot of movies on the old iPad. And the Diamondbacks have a chance for their first ever 4-game sweep, home or away, against the Reds. But a long way to go here, as Lamb 0 for 3 leads off the 8th.
Hey, we want to extend happy 13th birthday wishes to a huge Diamondbacks fan and even bigger Paul Goldschmidt fan, Sebastian Laguna, back in Arizona celebrating his 13th birthday. Goldie gave you a couple of homers and a couple of singles tonight, Sebastian.
All right, happy birthday, Sebastian. That kicked off the mound. Tough play for Suarez, but he made it. Or check that. That's Frazier with a shift on. That took a funny hop off the mound. And I think Jake might have beaten this one out.
Yeah, it looked like it with the naked eye. Of course, we've been wrong before, but yeah, that took a squirrely hop out there to Todd Frazier.
Ooh, yeah. Close. Headsets are coming on here. Diamondbacks will challenge the out call at first. Boy, that was it just hit the mound and then kind of died. A side hop off that mound for Frazier had to come in. And so it's another replay review brought to you by Mix One. Diamondbacks challenge the out call at first. Try to get that leadoff man aboard in the 8th. We got the first base umpire, Mark Wegner, on the far left there. Then Mike Winters, the crew chief, in the middle. Here's another look. It's a catch when it's in the back of the mitt. Right there. That's a catch. Foot is on the bag. Playing Tom Petty's I Need to Know. I like that. That's a new twist.
We've heard Rufus and Shaka Khan tell me something good many times in these replay situations.
Shaka Khan safe at first. Good. Diamondbacks win the challenge and the call is overturned. It's a base hit for Lamb. Good challenge there. Another call. Boy, Alan Campbell has proven to be one of the absolute best in the business. The Diamondbacks video coordinator. It's up to him, and he's almost always correct. Another replay review brought to you by Mix One. 30 calls overturned in Diamondback games this year. So Lamb, a leadoff single. Here's Salty. Doubled and scored in the 4th. He's 1 for 3. And Salty's had a good August. He's hitting over .320 this month, including 2 home runs. Got released by the Marlins, who gave him some big money to sign after he left the Red Sox. Spent 9 games at AAA Reno after he signed with the Diamondbacks in the first week of May, and he's been a really nice pickup by the front office. Done a good job. One more game to go here in Cincinnati, then it's back home. We take a look at our Chevron upcoming pitching matchup. 9:30 in the morning for Todd Walsh. It's Breakfast with Lightning here on Fox Sports Arizona. Chase Anderson, after 1 day being optioned to Reno, is back up. He'll take the start. And Raisel Iglesias, the Cuban who looked so good at Chase Field earlier this month, will pitch for the Reds. Barnhart can't find it, and Lamb will get second. It got behind him. He couldn't see it. That must be, if you're a catcher, the worst feeling in the world. No idea where the ball is.
And you start spinning around in circles. And sometimes the ball is laying right at your feet. You don't see it. Sometimes it's over in the on-deck circle. You don't know how it got there. Yeah, very panicky moment right here. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, there it is. Too late.
Yeah, the poor umpire's got to get out of there, too. That's not easy. Stays alive, 2-2. I'm looking forward to breakfast with Lightning tomorrow.
Sure.
9:30 a.m. for Todd Walsh for the pregame.
Remember, you're all cordially invited.
Well, we'll be here.
We'll be here.
Okay. All right.
Well, what do you think? We walk up like 5 minutes before first pitch and we're set to go?
Sure.
If only we're that way.
It would be a veteran move.
By the way, has Sports Illustrated called? How'd the Sports Illustrated?
As soon as we put that out on the internets and turn it viral, Steve, I think we're in big trouble.
Brandon Phillips. Lamb at third, one away.
Listen, Steve, thank you for coming on the show. Because
your complaint was that the Reds were on the cover too much.
Every 5 minutes when I was 12, 13 years old, the mid-'70s, Friday afternoon, and there they were again in my mailbox.
Well, in their defense, they were one of the greatest teams in the history of baseball.
I have learned that this weekend.
It was quite a run back when, that really meant something. That was a big deal.
Yeah, it did. I mean, as we talked about, you waited all week to see if your team or your player would be on the cover. When they were, it was glorious. And when it was the Reds, it hurt.
Said the Yankee fan.
And the Red Sox fan.
See, some of us couldn't afford a subscription to Sports Illustrated.
Poor Kashak, he went down to the library and read highlights once a week at the dentist's office.
Well, there was a dentist, yeah. And he used to get it in his mailbox every Friday. And
a pair of pliers, and that was it.
I'd go check it out.
Owings knocks it into center. CO, his third hit tonight. Lamb scores 9-5. The Diamondbacks have scored 9 times. So the Reds had an overturned call go their way. Diamondbacks turn theirs into a run. And Chris Owings, that's his third hit tonight.
Well, I think part of Chris's resurgence here recently is the fact he's willing to stay up the middle of the field. It makes such a big difference when you wait that extra fraction of a second, let that ball travel just a little bit farther. He's plenty quick to get the bat to the ball, and now using the whole field.
Chris Owings 8 for 12 in the series. That is a smash, fair ball down the left field line off the bat of Nick Ahmed, and CO's on the run. It's in the seats, or there was some fan interference. Either way, Ahmed has to stop at second, so a break for the Reds. Owings would have easily scored on that one. And Nick, his first at bat, he's got a double.
I think it looked like it may have hit the stool down there. The ball boy jumped up off his seat and at the last instant tried to grab the stool and pull it out of the way. And the next thing I saw was the ball bouncing up into the stands.
Homeboy got all eaten up on that one. He had nowhere to go. Well, he saved the Reds a run. Just nowhere to go. There's the stool, the whole thing.
So far, the best defensive play in the ball game for the Reds.
Hello.
Well, that would be Ryan Lamar making that great diving catch out there in center.
Barnhart can't find it, and here comes Owings. He's in there. CO hustles in. 10-5 Diamondbacks. It happened again to Tucker Barnhart. No idea where the baseball was. Owings saw that and sprinted home from third.
Now, that ball didn't get very far away from home plate. But CO with a great read and a quick jump. Just a backhanded effort that time by Barnhart. Looked like he got his mask in a bad position. Couldn't get it off. By the time he finds the ball, he fans on it. CO slides across home. Boy.
Ground ball, Frazier coming home, and Ahmed's in there. Nick Ahmed hustles in from third. 11-5 Diamondbacks. The head first slide into home. Always a concern, but that was the only way he was going to beat that throw with the infield in.
Wow, some aggressive base running at third. First by Chris Owings, and now a ground ball to third with the infield playing in. Nick Ahmed showcasing his acceleration, gets in underneath the Barnhart tag at home plate.
Be a good call from Mike McClinsky behind home plate. Don't look like the Reds will challenge either. (11-5) Inciarte at first, and here's A.J. Pollock 2 for 4. D-backs with 2 in the 7th and now 3 in the 8th.
A.J. Pollock mired in a little bit of a slump. He hasn't had a hit in 2 at-bats.
Back-to-back 4-hit games. 2 lousy hits tonight. What's wrong with him?
Only 2? He's liable to make it 3 right here.
Just the 2nd player in Diamondbacks history with consecutive 4-hit games. Steve Finley did it twice, the last time in 03. And the first player in the majors this year with at least 30 doubles and 30 steals. AJ has another stolen base tonight, now at 33 on the year. 2-1. Long inning for Ryan Matthews. Reds in danger of dropping their 8th in a row. AJ, there's your knock.
Slump buster.
Back-to-back 4-hit games and 3 for 5 tonight. And here comes Goldie, who's 4 for 4, including 2 homers. 11 hits in a 3-game span, ties Miguel Cabrera for the most of the major leagues. And here comes Jeff Pico, the pitching coach. Keep in mind, Goldie has never had a 5-hit game in his career. Our Arizona Federal Credit Union power player of the game. Here's Goldie tonight, the 2-run homer in the first, his 23rd. And that was his first homer since July 27th. Then a single in the 3rd, a single, a stolen base, and a run scored in the 5th. And then an opposite field 2-run smash in the 7th. 4 for 4, 2 homers. His 7th career multi-home run game. Paul Goldschmidt, our Arizona Federal Credit Union power player of the game. And now a chance right here for his first ever 5-hit game. Inciarte is the runner at second, Pollock at first. Still just 1 out. For the corner in right, Jay Bruce on the run, and he won't get there. No, he did. He caught it. Mark Wegner signals fair and then catch up the right field line, so Bruce takes that 5th hit away from Goldie.
Nice running, sliding catch that time by Jay Bruce. Taking away Goldie's bid for a 5th hit in the ball game, and recovers quickly enough to get it back in and hold the runners at their bases.
So that's 2 outs now. Here's Peralta, who's 0 for 4. Bounce to Phillips at second. Diamondbacks will strand 2, but they get 3 more. Bottom 8 coming up from Cincinnati. It's 11-5 D-backs. Cincinnati Diamondbacks have out-hit the Reds 16-8. They lead at 11-5. Paul Goldschmidt, 4 hits, including 2 homers. Goldie had homered only twice in his previous 49 games, but he's got 2 homers tonight. Numbers 23 and 24 on the year. And the Diamondbacks lead at 11-5. David Hernandez back out there to open up the 8th inning against the catcher Tucker Barnhart. Barnhart walked in the second, 0 for 2. He's down, no balls and 2 strikes. Diamondbacks, if they can hang on here, will improve to 5-4 on this 10-game road trip, and we'll be back atop the summit, even par for the year at 61 and 61. And 1 more to go tomorrow morning back home, the great state of Arizona. 9:30 kickoff for Diamondback Live pregame show. It's lightning in the morning. Barnhart rolls it the other way for a leadoff single. Here's rookie Ryan Lamar making his major league debut tonight. Just called up the other day from AAA Louisville. 26-year-old rookie. He's made a nice diving catch in right center field. His mom and dad are here, but he is 0 for 3 so far. And we've watched his mom grind out all these at bats, pitch for pitch, and it's been a rough night for her. There they are. They switch sides again. They switch sides every at bat. Dad shows no emotion whatsoever. He's like Mount Rushmore up there, but she's a mess.
Dad's a little like, the duck.
The duck.
You look at a duck on a pond, and what you see above the surface is very calm. And underneath, he's paddling like crazy.
Go look at mom. Tries to catch up to the fastball. 1-2 now. Look at her.
You should have thrown more batting practice to him when he was home.
Drives it foul. Ryan Lamar, University of Michigan, a second rounder in the draft 5 years ago. It took him 5 years to get here, but here he is. Another 1-2 pitch. Short right, Peralta coming in. Owens going out. It's David. And Lamar 0 for 4. Here's Skip Schumacher, the left fielder.
Well, partner, we've got a tie game.
Pardon me?
When it comes to foul balls.
You've been keeping track.
Each team has hit 37 foul balls tonight.
What's the deal with that?
What is the deal with that?
What's with the foul balls? Diamondbacks, if they hang on here, will be 5-1 versus the Reds this year. Up the middle and into center, a base hit for Schumacher. As promised earlier in the game, we have selected the Data Strong fan photo of the game. Tweet your strongest fan photo to AZ Data Strong Fan for a chance to be featured in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Here's Brandon Phillips. Barnhart, the runner, at second. Schumacher at first. Phillips singled and scored in the first. He's 1 for 4. Right from that biceps inflammation. Phillips tough to move as part of the Reds' reboot, as Walt Jocketty is calling it. Not a rebuild, a reboot. They gave him $72 million a few years ago. He's got 2 more years and another $27 million left on that deal after this year. And he'll be 35 next season. So he is still here after the reboot at the deadline. 1-2 now. On to Phillips, and they hung on to Jay Bruce, 2 guys a lot of people thought might get moved, which is why they're calling it a reboot and not a rebuild. They kept most of their cornerstone offensive players, traded all the pitchers. Hernandez strikes him out. 2 down in the 8th. Brings up Eugenio Suarez, who's 2 for 4. Suarez had 3 hits on Thursday, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts last night, so he's had a real up and down series here. 2 on and 2 out. Diamondbacks in the 9th will have the pitcher spot, which is 5th in the order. Jake Lamb and Jared Saltalamacchia due up. This is well hit out to left, but Ender's there. And Hernandez strands 2. 9th inning on the way. It's 11-5 Diamondbacks. Hey fans, watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in True HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices with MLB.TV Premium. You'll get real-time highlights, live look-ins, a pitch tracking widget, and a whole lot more every night, every device, the whole thing. Blackout and other restrictions do apply, so check MLB.TV for all the details. Rolling along the river. And in the 9th inning, it's an 11-5 Diamondback lead. D-back fans here with us. And the new pitcher for the Reds, it's our boy, Bert Badenhop, the hopper, who, as we discovered the other night, has this weird deal where he just circles the mound after every pitch. So that's something to look at here. And try and figure out what the deal is with that. After every pitch, he will do a lap around the back half of the mound and walk up the mound the same spot every time. Look, he's now for the first pitch, he goes way back.
Players and their routines.
Pitcher spot will lead it off, so Oscar Hernandez will get an at bat, and that's the side of the mound. He'll go up that side every time and do a full lap around that back half of the mound. So an at bat for Oscar here to lead off the Diamondback ninth. Number 1 pick in the Rule 5 draft last year, Oscar Hernandez looks at strike one. Oscar 3 for 23 on the year, a double and an RBI. It's this in the air out to Schumacher in left. One away. Let's check Badenhop. He's got to go over to Frazier to get the ball. And it starts all over again. Takes that same straight angle. Gets there, then takes a turn, and there you go. Now, even if there's no action on the pitch, he'll get the ball back from the catcher and do that whole deal every time. Which, as you made a great point, where's the clock?
Yeah, batters have to keep a foot in the batter's box to keep the pace of game moving, but Badenhop's allowed to stroll all around the infield.
Blast it right to Phillips, 2 down. Takes a base hit away from Lamb, and here we go again.
Yeah, Badenhop with a point into the Reds dugout right there, acknowledging the shift. Brandon Phillips right in exactly the right spot to catch that liner.
Usually pitchers get upset.
Yeah, they
yell at the dugout.
Yeah, every time a base hit goes through, the guy was out of position.
I've seen Kershaw do that a lot for the Dodgers this year. Jared Saltalamacchia doubled and scored in the 4th. He's 1 for 4. And keep the shift on here for Salty. Badenhop, actually, Bob, right back on the rubber. Hadn't seen that in this series. He had been getting off completely before. Now he's, maybe somebody talked to him.
1-2. Just a little abbreviated walk to the side and then right back up on the rubber. Maybe just between hitters now. He's going to take his stroll.
Well, it didn't work very well last time. He worked 1 inning, gave up 2 runs, 3 hits, and a walk. Got hit pretty hard, so he's abbreviated the routine. And he strikes out Salty. 1, 2, 3 for Badenhop. Bottom 9 all the way. Is the lefty Keith Hessler. Hessler worked last night, faced 1 batter It was Joey Votto, and Votto took him deep the other way for a homer, his 22nd of the year. And guess who's leading off the ninth for the Reds? Correct, Joey Votto. And this was Votto versus Hessler last night. And that was the only batter Keith faced in the ballgame. And so here's the rematch to lead off the home half of the ninth. Diamondbacks with an 11-5 lead. Votto has walked twice, singled, and scored twice.
I just want to give you a heads up, partner. I'm going to stop counting foul balls.
Why?
Well, I found out we're at 75 in the ball game tonight.
75.
75
foul balls.
League average in a game is 46.
Holy cow.
Now, that's not even close, though, to the record for the season. The Brewers and the D-backs back at the end of May, and the Reds and the Tigers in June each had 102 foul balls in one game.
Man.
So, yeah, 75. I'm going to stop counting until we get to 100.
Well, we'll see if we can make a run here.
Don't say that.
So here we go. Another chance for Hessler against Votto. Good start, 0-1. Shift is on for the Diamondbacks.
The game the Diamondbacks and Brewers hit 102 foul balls, you will recall, was that getaway day 17 inning game in Milwaukee.
Oh, well, the numbers are skewed.
Yeah,
then.
they're definitely skewed.
Yeah, that was a long one. That was the, if memory serves, Martin Maldonado walk-off in the 15th, 16th, 17th. Ay, caramba. 3-1 on Votto. Well, doing what we can for you here. A few foul balls. It's a lot of Delaware mud they used up tonight. Rub those things up. Oh, look out. Up and in. Votto walks for the third time tonight. Dangerous.
Boy, it is dangerous, but Joey Votto, to his credit, got out of the way the right way. We've talked about it a lot with all the hit-by pitches recently. Guys getting hit on the wrist and the elbows and up near the face. Turned away from the ball, tried to pull his head down into his shoulders, and managed to get out of the way of that one.
Todd Frazier. Mike Harkey did not like what he saw on that last pitch. Remember, Keith Hessler has been through a lot this year, all three levels of the Diamondback minor league system. He opened the year at Single-A Visalia, 10 relief appearances, did not give up a run. From there was at Double-A Mobile. And in 24 appearances for the Bay Bears, had a 0.71 ERA. So it was on to Reno. 13 games for Phil Nevin with the Aces before his call up to the big leagues after they traded Oliver Perez to the Astros. So that's quite a journey. 4 different levels for Keith Hessler in 1 year. Now here in the majors. That is a fair ball down the left field line. Inciarte has it in the corner. Votto will stop at third. And it's another double for Todd Frazier, his second tonight, and his third hit. So Frazier, who's had a miserable couple of months here, really showing signs of life again.
Some of the Reds who had been struggling coming into and during the first couple games this series starting to show some signs of life with the bat. Reds have pounded out 11 base hits of their own in this ball game tonight.
Jay Bruce. And this is one of the slumping bats that they're waiting to wake up. Bruce, a 2-run double in the third. That's 7 for his last 64 up there. He's batting a $135 in August. A sky-high pop-up to shallow left center. Bermuda triangle. Ender has it. One away. Pitcher spot now for the Reds. 6th in the order. We'll get a look at Ivan De Jesus Jr. Daniel Hudson has had to start throwing now.
For the Reds, number 3, Ivan De Jesus Jr.
De Jesus started the first 2 games of this series at second base. .248 on the year. 4 homers. 1 for 8 in the series with 3 strikeouts. De Jesus, 3 for his last 28. Votto at third, Frazier at second, 1 out. Has to play it on the short hop. This will bring Votto home with a 6th run, an RBI for De Jesus. 3 of the first 4 have reached against Hessler in the 9th.
Quite possibly Hessler's last batter if he doesn't retire Tucker Barnhart, a switch hitter who is much better, as we mentioned earlier in the game, from the left side of the plate. You'd prefer to have him up there as a right-handed hitter, so maybe Hessler's last batter.
Now Barnhart under 170 this year as a right-hand hitter. Looks like Chip Hale might have to go to Daniel Hudson here. We'll see what he does with Barnhart. 258 on the year. A walk and a single tonight. Hard to short. Ahmed tries the Jeter jump throw, loses the handle. Frazier scores. It's 11-7. Nick, a tough play anyway, deep in the hole there at short. And the first 4 of 5 reach against Hessler in the 9th.
It covered a lot of ground just to get to that grounder in the hole between third and short. Was going to try, as you called it, a Derek Jeter jump throw to second base to try to at least get the lead runner, but just lost the handle as he went into his jump right there.
That's going to do it for Keith Hessler, and Chip Hale is going to have to use his 6th pitcher tonight. It was Delgado. He had a short start. Godley, Chafin, Hernandez, Hessler, now Hudson. Diamondbacks lead 11-7 in the 9th. Back after this. Huddy pitched Thursday's series opener, and they were some high leverage pitches in a close ball game. D-backs won it 5-4, but he came on to work the 8th. Suarez had a single. He walked Votto, and then with the 2 on, nobody out, really had to work to get Frazier, Bruce, and DeJesus. He threw 26 pitches, and now he's on to clean up the mess here in the 9th. And another chance to check in with Mr. and Mrs. Lamar, as their young man making his major league debut tonight still looks for his first big league hit. He's 0 for 4. Ryan Lamar. DeJesus, the runner at second. Barnhart at first. 2 runs in, still just 1 out. 11-7 ball game. On 1. Dad can't bear to watch. Mom's all by herself. Trying to change his luck, I guess.
Any parent of an athlete knows the feeling. You know, at least Ryan Lamar at the plate has an opportunity to affect the outcome here. Mom and Dad just up there rooting him on.
Two balls and a strike. He's holding up pretty well this time. Oh, she doesn't like that call. It's 2-2.
She's in favor of the automated strike zone.
You've converted her already, huh? 1 game in, she's already in. Reds have got the tying run on deck here. Become a little too interesting in the 9th. There go those fingernails. Got him. Can't bear to look. Ryan Lamar 0 for 5 in his big league debut. 2 down for Schumacher. Diamondback Live pregame show, 9:30 in the morning. It's Breakfast with Lightning tomorrow on Fox Sports Arizona. Tom Walsh along the way. 10:10 in the morning, first pitch. The series finale, Chase Anderson and Raisel Iglesias. And then finally, after this long odyssey, it's back home to Chase.
Ooh. Boy, does that sound nice.
4 against the Cardinals starting on Monday. That'll be Robbie Ray and Lance Lynn. Patrick Corbin and Jaime Garcia in that series. Ruby De La Rosa, John Lackey. And Randall Delgado scheduled to start Thursday. We'll see how that goes against Carlos Martinez. So looking at most of the Cardinals' best pitchers in that series. Not that they really have any bad ones. One and one on Skip Schumacher. Goldie has it. Steps on the bag. That's the out. Diamondbacks win it 11-7. And they get to 500 on the year again. 61-61 for Chip Hale's ball club. They clinch a series win. They move to 5-4 on this 10-game road trip and a chance to get their first ever 4-game series sweep, home or away, against the Reds.
Don't stop now, boys. Played a great ball game tonight. Offense once again featured in a big way. And a big tip of the cap to Zach Godley to come in and throw 3 2/3 innings in this